Hi everyone, team member Mark Sheeran here. Listen, everybody's been asking why we switched to the Skinner peep sights this year. And there's a whole bunch of reasons. First of all, the owner of Skinner Sights, Andy Larson, was willing to collaborate with us to build the best ghost sight for tracking on the market. And he took our input and really put it into practice. And the aperture, the ghost ring itself is thinner, so it allows more light in. It's all steel construction. It's got a lifetime warranty, and it's also a very elegant sight. So there are some other features as well. The ghost sight itself is dovetailed into the body of the sight, which makes it really, really sturdy, and it can't fall out of adjustment. And between that and the fact that it's all steel, and the peep sight is optimized for the tracker and the still hunter, it's an amazing sight. So you can go on to bigwoodsbucks.com and get your BWB Tracker Series peep sight today. All right, good luck on the hunt.
This is the Big Woods Bucks Podcast. Come explore the big woods and timber in North America with your host, Maine Master Guide and deer tracking expert Hal Blood. Listen to Hal and co-hosts Lee Libby and Joe Cruzy as they unlock the secrets of big woods whitetails. Each episode will provide valuable insights in the tried and true system Hal has used for the last 40 years to scout, locate, and hunt mature big woods bucks. Listen and laugh as the crew discusses Hal's legendary adventures and learn how to apply a lifetime's worth of lessons from the big woods to your own hunting and outdoor adventures.
Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks Podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood, sitting down here at Pileland Lodge with Joe Cruzy.
Hello.
And Rick Labby.
Hello.
Bad Lee couldn't make it for some reason. I didn't get the reason yet. And special guest today is my old buddy, Garnett Robinson. And Garnett had guided for me years ago and stuff back in the beginning. And he was always fun to share stories with, so he's going to share some with us today. Right, Garnett? Yep.
Was he as difficult to deal with back then as he is now?
Everybody said, every now and then you'll hear me call Hal boss, but my boss had boobs, and her name was Debbie. I worked. Hal would always try to talk me into working out of the camps with him in there, and I'd just gotten divorced, and it's like being married, except for nothing was conjugal.
I'm glad we straightened that out.
But I'd go there in the morning, and she'd have breakfast, and then they'd pack her lunch. And afternoons, I'd come back, and then I'd pick up Pop, and we'd go to the bar, and come back and have supper. And Hal would be like, "We're missing out, Garnett," and I'd be like, "No." And plus, I use it in whatever truck he had there. He let me drive it. I was like, "Holy cow, he's crazy!" Because I'd be driving his vehicles, riding around, hanging out at the lodge. Debbie, it was wonderful. I miss it.
I bet you do.
Best cook in the world. Yeah.
Well, we can get you a new guiding gig down here at the lodge in the fall.
If Debbie's cooking,
Yeah,
He's going to pass that.
she's in charge of all of it. Erica does a lot of it, but Deb's in charge of the menu and stuff.
Oh, geez. Yeah, well, that's good.
That sweeten the pot for you?
Oh, it does, yeah.
Back in business.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Was she harder on you than me, though?
Oh, she's way harder. I remember one time remember that moose hunt where we were up in by Rainy Brook, and Debbie goes, "I want to go with Garnett," and she's telling these guys how I was going to call in the big ones for him. First moose we called in is about 50 inches, and I was like, waiting for them to shoot, and Debbie goes, "I wouldn't shoot that with Garnett calling." I was sitting there and I was like, she said that, and then every day it was like moose were smaller, or I was like, holy smokes! Wow, that's the only time in my life I went the whole week, and we saw like 30 moose, and then the last day Hal flew up, and he's like with Steve, and I was like, you saw the video of what I did to your truck. We're going, they're like, it's way up at the end, and it's like, I was like 20 miles away, so we're going like 90 with the sports.
Yeah,
doing jumps. I got up there, and it was like, I was like running there, and the kid was short, and I was like, I could see the moose. They were like, we're going to leave you to work them. And I looked, and the moose was right facing down on us, but I could see it because I was tall enough to look over the bushes, and this kid couldn't see it. And I got him up on a stump, and the moose, I was calling, moose walked off. I go, I'm going to be the first guy in Maine, and I've guided all these hunts, and I'm going to be the first one not to get a moose. And then I walked out in the road, and there's a big bull coming down, and this kid made a shot. 500 yards. I've never. He told me they did that out west with woodchucks or something. These guys were from out west. I was like, I go, you really? They had a 300 Magnum, and he laid on the ground, and I was sitting there, and I was like, if you think you can hit it, go for it. I was looking at it, and it just looked like an ant up there. And he shot, and it went off and died right on the side of the road.
That's impressive. I've never heard of it.
No, I've never seen anything like it, but I was like so thankful. I was like, wow.
One of the first of the long-range shooters.
And when we were done, it was about the same size as the one that we'd passed up the first day. I was just like, but I was like, oh. And then I was helping, I can't remember your friend that had the dump truck there. He had,
Rick?
Yeah, holy cow. The night before, he chased this moose a mile into the woods. He instead of letting it go lay down, I went there and they kept going. They'd shoot at it, and we went like a mile off. And he goes, "It's a ways." And I went down. And I got my. He goes, he come and showed up because I said mine's on the side. He goes, "I'm going to come help you get yours, and you're going to come help me get mine." And I stand there with a chainsaw, and he goes, "It's." And then I walked out with him. I go, "Oh my frickin' word!" Because he had an old Jeep, and I was down there, and I cut every stump for a mile. I mean, to get it really, it was like I never see anybody get a moose that far without. Taking out pieces.
The packing days, huh?
Yeah, I was going to say, no one packed them out back then, I guess.
No. I packed them out with Ronnie before. I was packing moose out when I was a kid.
Ronnie is your uncle.
Yeah, Ron Berry.
What?
Yeah, rest his soul.
Yep.
Why don't you start, just give a little background of growing up here and everything, and kind of.
Well, I was born. My mother was a Berry, Linda Berry, and my uncles Gordon and Ronnie were my idols when I was a kid because they both shot a lot of deer, and they were at the point where they'd gotten enough that they mostly buck hunted. They were shooting bucks when the time I was able to hit the woods, and I thought I was going to be like that.
They were
took a lot of. I went through a lot of ammo to actually hit some deer. So
practicing.
I didn't have this. I blamed it on my gun. I had a 30. My great grandfather's old 30-30, and I had the only time I come close is when I was 10. My father shot one with my shotgun. He'd taken my 20 gauge that I had out there, and he shot one with buckshot in the head, and he stood on its neck till I was like, "Dad, that you?" Who else is shooting in next year? But I went running over, and I was like, "You should shoot him." My father was like 10 feet from him. I didn't know he'd stood on its neck waiting for me. And I got there, and we had a friend that was pushing to us, and he was coming up, and I could hear them yelling me, "Shoot!" I was like, I just shot 5 times. I jacked all the shells out of my 30-30. I bent down, and I picked up one shell, and then and it started to run, and I shot. And his jaw dropped, and my friend goes, "You shot it in the head." What? I was like this. I said, "Well, he told me with the buckshot, you come up and shoot it in the head, neck." And I was like, so I shot it with a 30-30, and the thing ran off. Made it all the way up to the road up here, and then wasn't far from here, but but it made it out to the road, and my father goes, "We got to wait because you shot it in the jaw, We waited and come out, and somebody gutted it on the road, died inside the road. I was like, he goes, "Serves you right for doing that." That would have been my first deer, but my first deer was later.
So, do you still have that 30-30?
Oh yeah,
that's pretty
it's
cool.
got the orange butt on it. It's a pretty expensive gun, but I'm going to shoot one next year. I listened to like I said, I didn't know you guys doing all this, and I heard Rick. talking about his his grandfather, my grandfather, similar. My grandfather was a wood buyer for Oxford Paper.
Yeah.
My father's father, and he was the head of procurement for them. And I got pictures from back when they put the roads in up to St. Just and.
Yeah.
And way back, my father, big trouble. My father met my mother. He was a geologist here, so he lived here at the Peels farm.
Oh, no kidding.
No
yeah,
kidding.
back when they had the inn.
Yeah.
They had the inn.
Oh,
He lived
wow.
in one of the camps there. And
Yes, sir.
him and a bunch of those, the geologists back then.
Yeah.
But he worked with Billy McCain, Shoopy Paradise, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he chased some of the women up in Japman. But 'cause I see him with, I can't say his name, so we'll leave names out. But,
Be safer.
Yeah.
So your family's really from the Forks. And,
Yeah,
on
my
your
mother,
side.
my mother's side of the family's from the Forks, and my father's from Canada.
Yep.
Originally, my great grandfather was a guide for the Hales. If you ever see Yankee magazine, like I put pictures of stuff
Yep.
they had there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't my so I'm a sixth generation guide if you count my great grandfather,
Oh, nice.
because he was guided for them, but he's old then. And he was a market hunter way back. I never put those pictures on because people don't like. I got pictures of wagons of caribou and stuff they had back then. But
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
yeah,
love seeing
I
that.
think Hal's seen some of my ones with the deer and stuff they had, but they shot a lot of big deer back then. They grew old.
Yeah.
It takes a lot everybody thinks, bucks to get the kickers and all that stuff. You usually got to have a few years on them.
Yeah.
The ones they had a lot of stuff on them.
It does seem like there's a lot more of that genetics down in the Forks area.
Definitely.
The
There's
non-typical stuff.
The Forks, and you get some over towards Rockwood because I see you're in a good
Yeah.
country for it. Because I had in Nebraska, I had my neighbor when I was up Moose River. He was quite a woodsman. Tommy's friend, somebody shot deer for him. We supplied neighbors, that sort of thing. But he's he had not pictures, but he had deer racks that had a lot of stuff off them. And like my Uncle Ronnie, when I was a kid, he shot the biggest deer he shot in the state that year was 289, or I don't remember if it's 289 or 290, but is the biggest one for that year. And they had there was a 17 point at the time, and I remember it just had knots, and he'd hit it with buckshot in the horns. So the pieces of buckshot was caught in it. It was just so cool. When his house burned, he goes, if I'd known everything was going on, I'd save that rat probably.
Yeah.
But he
Said they hunt with buckshot a lot then?
he did. He's a shotgun man. He had 12 gauge, 10 gauge. And my first deer, is because of that. And my father, I went and bought a gun when I was 13. I'd blame him the 30-30. Damn thing doesn't work, Dad. So I went and bought everybody thought I bought 760 because of, Benoit or whatever, and I didn't. I went to Woolworths. I'd saved up all my money, and my father went with me to buy a gun, and I bought that, and I wanted a scope with over-unders so that I could have open
Right.
sights, and then I bought everybody made fun of I had a Tasco. I had a BB gun scope on it, but once I shot 60, 70 deer, they were changed their mind. But that was I used to hunt like Rick all over the place. By the way, if somebody's listening to this,
All over the place, from here to Skowhegan.
I meant I was a Canadian hunter back then. But anyways, I never got at least. First thing off with that, I was like, damn gun didn't work either. My father bought when we were in there, he bought a Harrington Richardson. It was like $100, it was like
$100 gun,
$100 gun that he bought for these were at 25% or something. I got them when they're 75% off. So I got my gun for with the scope for $125. That was the only scope that was there. So I bought it. It was a set 4-power.
Yeah.
It didn't have nothing else with it. It was just plain 4-power. And
I had a Tasco on my first 7400.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
mine was 760, but it had and I loved it. But then all of a sudden it started moving. You'd shoot one spot and I'd shoot a group, and then shoot a group, and there'd be another spot.
Yeah.
So it
Is that still the gun you hunt with?
Oh yeah.
What do you have on it now for a scope?
I put his ice. Well,
times have changed.
That gun was. Well, I didn't when I was a forest ranger. It wouldn't have been his ice. It was I remember I put a Simmons or something they had. And
Yeah.
because when that floated, I put the next one I got was cheap and did the same thing later, So I don't like all my running deer I shot with open sights. I remember I predate Hal's books and stuff. I remember the lady that from Vermont, wasn't it? That you were taking pictures of all the stuff. And I remember him looking down the sights of this, and he had the open sights. And I was like, you ain't even got a sight in there, because I remember looking, and he's got a big opening. And I was like, wow, it does look like a scope down through it, like 'cause he had that front seat sight painted white. And I was like,
so you were shooting open, and Hal's Peep was the first one you saw?
He showed it to me. He's like, look at that. You should switch your gun over. And I'm like, I'm good with what I got. But now I'm seeing that my eyes, again, I'm at the point where I think because I see I'm reading, if I'm reading, I can't see really good up close, and it's still the gun. But I've missed it. If you ask Gordon how I shoot, he'd tell you better to paint the target after, Go paint the target on the deer when you're done.
After you're done shooting.
I've shot at so many deer, and, Gordon, what it is, he's a berry, and he made him run faster. Because I tell him when he always, him and my cousin Brian's like a deadly marksman. He's, they're good shots. And like my cousin Brian, we were in Indian Stream once. About the same time I got in trouble, because I shot a deer sometime in there too. But we were, I jumped about 10 feet in front of me. It was so thick in there. There's a deer yard back then, like Indian Stream was. And him and I were heading towards Gordon. We always hunted as a team. If three of us go out, and even till now, if we have three of us hunted, if I'm shooting, we're getting action. If they're shooting, we got deer. But I was there, and I remember they were both using me for bait, because I come out and I hear the shooting right after I jumped that deer, and I walk out. My cousin's standing up on a log pile like 300 yards away. He goes, he's over there, and I was like, baloney, So I walked in the woods, kept on hunting, and then I said, well, I couldn't find Gordon where he's supposed to be coming in from. And I was like, well, I'll go back. And I could see him pointing at Gordon, saying he's over there. And I'm like, there's no way. Because I was like, go over, and he shot at 300 yards running. I was like, well, what the hell are you doing up on that log pile? That's not right. You guys are waiting for me to go through this thick crap.
You were the bird dog.
I was the bird dog. Yep. Yeah. So I know I can't shoot like
learning experience.
It's funny how all the deer that the Barry shot over the years, now it's Gordon that's taking care of them.
Yeah.
Which he's done that for a long time too, but boy, he puts a lot of effort into that.
Yeah. Well, my uncles shot a lot of deer, and they've, back then it was different than now. So, when I was a kid, it was a lot different. My grandfather, I remember, he taught me things. I mean, I learned most of my stuff by error, not trial. I mean, I'm everything I
by error.
By error, I learned the hard way. That's I'm a professional now, and luckily my new job I don't have to learn very much now. But back then when I was hunting, I most of my stuff was from errors. I'd see a deer, and I had a giant buck stand there, and I'd try and peeking around and see if I could look at his antlers. I should have just been shooting. I knew it was the first time I ever tracked one, and I was 16 years old. I remember I was on the railroad bed up here, they just switched it from being, you could hunt a week before. And when I was a kid, we used to come up and we go to either Elliottsville or go up above Japman, because you could hunt a week early.
Right.
So we'd always go there. And I remember walking down the railroad bed, and I just kept going slow. This giant track, and I was like, the only track there. And then I looked down, and I hear thump thump. Like when they stand up, I heard the hind end when he's getting up, and I was like, what the hell's that? I was like, out here is on the track, and I didn't realize that when he went in, that's where He just went in, laid down. He just went in, laid down, and it's between me and the lake, so I can give you an idea. But it's like, I was like this, and I was like looking, and I was like, that's a giant body. What's it got for horns? And instead of just, shooting it, what I had for a shot, I leaned forward and I watched one of the biggest deer I've ever seen just run away. I shot. I did shoot, but I went from having a standing shot at 40 yards to running. Down through hardwood, So
you must have been excitable. You was excitable when you were shooting.
Oh, I was excitable. I shot. I mean, I I don't even want to think how many shots I've shot because I got to the point where my father gave me that. I missed again and like with the 30-06, and he's like, take that shotgun, He's like, so I went out and all of a sudden I started getting deer and he regretted it, I think, because he would take one and and I'd be like, oh, Dad, then I started hitting with the rifle because like I started aiming, I think. I started pointing and shooting. I remember before that. Ronnie's the one that really, he's the one that got it. So I really started shooting because I remember when I was 10, had a deer run right. I was like, I'll buy one now. He's like, there's a deer right out on the point. He'd see he's coming into town by the bridge, and one had walked out onto the point between the dead and the. Yeah. He goes, we can go get that one. I was like, all right, let's go. And I was like that, and I was right behind him, and I had a shotgun. He had standing in front of me. And he stopped, and he's like, there. And I was looking. All I could see was the rear end. He's like, shoot. And I'm like, I'm not going to shoot it in the hind end, like that. And then we'd done that enough, and she started to run. And then I didn't shoot, and she jumped in the river. And, they'll swim that river like nothing.
Like nothing, yeah.
They don't care about the dead or the Kennebec. It's not an obstacle to them.
Right.
She ran across and swam across, and Ronnie looked at me. He goes, I can tell you one thing. You're never going to get deer if you don't shoot. And then after that, it went crazy because I shot it. I could be there with a shotgun, and deer would be halfway across this lake, and I'd aim above it, and
lob one in.
Start sending them out. That and the rifle, the same. I shot and shot. And then I started getting successful. My father I got so successful one year, he started tampering with my gun. My scope. He'd go out there and he'd do stuff to my scope, my sights. He goes like, well, he did. He told my wife Sally before he died. He said to do that because he knew that he figured I was still the same as I was back then. I'm not. I remember Hal's actually one of the ones that I watched that steered me out of that after I got in a little bit of a rile there, and I watched Hal. Hal's the only guy up to that point I'd ever watched that had. If he'd rather not get a deer than shoot one they didn't want. And I was like, I'd never seen anybody in the world do that before that. I worked for Hal, like I said, and I was like, Hal, we see deer almost every day. Why didn't you shoot one? I didn't want it,
Right.
Same thing when I shot. I come out with that buck. The first one when I helped him, he was trying to get me back into them camps again. And I went in there with him and Mike Featherstone and Gary, his son. And we were setting up the camp, and he goes, we'll hunt the first day there. Mike couldn't because but he was going to walk around scout or something. We went out in the morning there, and I ended up getting it. I should tell on Hal on this because, like, back then, he's not a good helper when it comes to, like, dragging. I remember Hal's, like, back then we didn't have radios, and he'd be like, well, once you get one, if either one of us gets one, wait 5 minutes and fire a shot. I was like,
2 shots.
Or 2 shots. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's why I went through so much ammo. we were going across. We walked out. I don't know if you've been on where they do the boat trip, but we were going across that trail, and I hit the road, and he's going out. He's going another direction. And I said, I stand there and I had no idea where I was going to hunt. And I said, I'm going to go over here, and I went backside the hole up the end of it, and I said, I'm going to swing off towards, what is that, the Horseshoe Pond and Cedar?
Clearwater.
Clearwater, that's right. And I started heading off that direction, and I see this big ridge. I kept looking at it, and it was snowing by then. I said, I'm just going to go up there and take a look around. And I went up there, and the snow was starting to stick. There's a scrape. I was sitting there, I was like, looking around. Like, oh, my God, it was a brand new scrape, brand new rub. And I was like, I was shaking. I was like, oh, he's going to be inches from me, because it was like, so I was like, and I took one step every, it took me half an hour to get to I could see the cut out in front of me, like the edge of it, you could see it opening up, and I got out and like kept looking. I'm like, where in the hell is this thing? And I got up and I peeked out, like that's where I think I do different than some of your guys, because like they will see them walking right out in the open stuff, and I'm like, I stop and I always look before I go out, and I'm like looking, I go, oh my God, there he is. He's on that. He's over on the other side, and there's a 200-yard shot, which is a mile for me. I saw it, and he hunkered down, and I stepped out, and I kid you not, I looked to my right, and there's a huge black buck. I'm like, oh, And I was like, well, I'm here with Hal, I'm here with Gary, I'm here with that Mike, and I've been in trouble before. I had to let him go. So I'm standing there, and I was like, every urge in me was like, might not have touched that other one. I probably, that hunker in there, he might have just scared him, the bullet going by. And then the next one come out, then 3 bucks together, and they never, you don't see that in the beginning.
No.
Like every time I've ever seen bucks together is like muzzleloader season or something, and these bucks were in the same spot, and I was like, oh my God, I could have got 3 big ones all in one spot, and they couldn't have got away. They couldn't have got away because that shot that they offered me when they were going, I would have hit them. I was like, went down, and I'd hit the other one in the liver. I went down across there, and I said, well, I got to get them out. I waited a few minutes, and I bang, no how, but I got it out, started dragging, went and dragged, and I said, well, I dragged quite a ways. And I was going down through a slash where they'd cut and then trees down. I was like, well, I'll fire again. Bang, bang. Kept going. I went another, another few hundred yards. I went from the back of these cuts all the way, and I was like, jeez, it was snowing. I was down to my T-shirt. I was like this, and I got out to the road, and I was like this, and I'd fired by then a bunch. And I was like, well, now I'm to the road. I'll go back. And he had a deer cart that he'd had there, and I'd never used one. I said, well, I'll walk back. Hopefully somebody, I got back there, and I was going to get Mike to go with me. Well, Mike's not at the camp. So I grabbed that cart, and I don't know how far that was, but it's a long walk.
That's probably a mile and a half.
Yeah. So, I walked back there. It was a chore to get the thing onto that cart because I'd never used that type of cart. I was like, well, how in the hell? Bang, bang. Finally, it's almost like I'm pushing this thing, and it's all uphill till you get up the railroad bed, and you go uphill. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going, what the hell? I get to the top of that hill, and it's almost dark. Hal steps out with Gary, and he goes, here, let me help you. And he's like, and there's maybe a quarter mile. It's like maybe a quarter mile to the.
It's all downhill.
Yeah, and it's all downhill. And he goes, doesn't this cart work good, Garnett? I'm in a sweat. I was like dying.
Rolling off, guys.
That is so typical, Hal. I can picture it right now.
Oh my God! I was like, and we got down to the. And he's the only guy who ever bought he had a lobster boat out in Harbor. I kid you not, his boat goes 70 miles an hour or something. Because I got in there and I was like this, and by then you go from super hot. I don't know if you've ever been and I all of a sudden I get in his boat and it's snowing, and he's like, we're going to like a speed boat, but it looked like it was a lobster boat, but it had a.
It was. How did we get from the deer in the cart to the lobster boat? Because I missed that segue.
Well, we just we barely one-handed it. Hal was walking with one hand to hold it from running into the lake. And we got down there and threw it into this big lobster boat. It was a lobster boat.
Yeah,
had the hook
headed
on
up
it.
the beach at
21-foot pointer that Raymond, my buddy Raymond, let me use it.
Had the hooks for the. I called it a lobster boat because it had the pulleys on the.
Yeah, he had his hauling
gear on it. Yeah.
I think it had like 150 horse on it.
But we were going down, and I was like, all the rocks. I was like, wow, I hope you know where you're going, Hal. Addie, and when you get up by the islands, I was like, oh, I wouldn't dare drive like that. And then we got there and threw the deer in the back of his truck, went to the tagging station, and I was like,
you didn't want to tag it, remember?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to tag it, and I wasn't going to weigh it either. And then Hal's like, you're going to weigh it. And I'm like, by then I was tired, and I was like, no, I ain't gonna. And he made me put it on and weighed 220 or whatever. But I was like, I don't know. No,
the rack was one of them, just
it's a dinky
an
rack,
average basket rack.
Just
type
thing,
thing, but it was a big deal.
It's thick horns, but an 8-point. And I was like, Hal, he said, why'd you shoot it if you didn't want it? And I'm like, I don't know.
I just couldn't help myself.
I stopped myself with the other two. I have to say that was pretty. I thought it was pretty good.
We're all proud of you, Garnett.
Actually, I'll tell you, when I guided for a while there, I didn't even carry a gun because I was like, you know what? I'll try to get you guys your deer. And I had one time that I've been me to you from a 12-point buck that was like, I could have killed it with a knife because I had a spot in Forsyth where probably the first place I actually tricked deer tracking them. I tracked him. So I was going to do like Hal. I was going to go miles and do whatever it took. And I remember I chase it, and he'd go through thick crap, and all of a sudden I'd see places he'd go through, and he'd stood and watch me, and I was like going, I'm getting sick of this, because I go over one hill and I go to another one, and I'd see he'd doing the same thing. I was like, finally I said, I'm going to trick you up, because he's going through these hardwoods in between them. I was like, I went running around the whole ridge, and I went to the first one, and here's his tracks going across. Oh, no. I went like running. I got to the other side, and the hardwoods, there's nothing there. I hadn't stood there one millisecond. I look, out he comes, and I shot him. I was like, mother. But that doesn't count as tracking, because I wasn't doing what you guys do on TV here.
That counts as tracking.
It sure counts. Oh, yeah.
It's trickery. Like I said, it's trickery. And when I listen to my buddy here, Peaches, I'm going to use that. But I was going to tell everybody how I used to like pears, but I'm like, I don't want to go to the bar with them and be peaches and pears at the bar.
We ain't going to the bar.
Hey, tell them how much you like cream, Garnett. You guys will be peaches and cream.
Oh my God! Well, no, I used to hang out more with his dad at the bar. Really? His dad and his mom, Mike. His father's one. Jeez, he saw a lot of big ones up in Canada. He'd show me them pictures, and I'd be, yes, holy. I'd be like, why in the hell would you go up there, Mike? I'd be like, in this time of year, you can shoot all the deer you want here. He's like, show me a picture. And it'd be like, Gordon's got some in the store, actually, still of the ones, I'd be like, well, I guess. And Mother would have a picture. I'd be like, they had a picture of this big swordfish, or no, a sailfish.
Sailfish,
I'd be like, oh, I've caught one now. And it's like reeling in a truck. So I was like, they didn't tell me that part, but his dad was always, showed those. I was like, yes, holy smokes. And then Rick, when I read some of his stories, following the does, I do stuff that's odd when I'm tracking. That's why I don't.
Yeah, whatever works, So you got to change it up.
I always tell people there's more than one way to.
I watch the guys, and they're super good at it, and I'm like, I listen to that guy from, like I said, I listen to these podcasts, so I know what's going on. And you had a guy from New York said, put your head down, just following him. I'm like, I've never got a deer from having my head down, and I've never, I watch a lot of them. They're out in the open, and I've tracked so many deer. I watch where they walk, and I watch my uncle and them. I just go from tree to tree, and I don't walk out in the open. I half the time, if I see something out in the open, I'll go around it, and I'll just try to see if I can figure out where they went and come back on it. And I can track it, and I don't stay on its track. I'll go off to the side. You feel like
that's still tracking.
Yeah.
I go off to the side, and I come back to it. I go off to the side, and I come back to it. And then and I used to do all kinds of weird things, but sometimes it'd work. If I see a deer, I used to, way back when I've always figured I could run faster than I can't do it anymore. But I'd run as fast as I could when I jump a deer, and I'd run for almost a minute, and I'd run as hard as I could at an angle. Yeah. Didn't everybody go, you ran downwind? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know, and I got up there, and I just drop on one knee, and I just stay there. Leaned up on a tree, just looking as far as ahead as I could, and that's when I would use my scope as far as I could in an opening. And every now and then, he'd be one that would come like this, wait 20 minutes, or I would. Who knows?
Yeah, because they don't go in a straight line.
They don't. I've had a few times where I caught them where they didn't know what I was, and they might have been trying to circle around or something, or going off the side. And I've just been lucky that when he started walking again, he was there, and I got 3 or 4 that way, and it wasn't tracking, like I said, because I jumped them, And but the one I was most proud of when I tracked was with muzzleloader. The first time I really considered that I'd done something that like Hal would do. I followed. I went out and it was snowing, and I was working, which I was having a hard time.
To work when it's snowing.
And I was back in his back, way back. When I muzzleloaded, I hated it because my gun would never go off. Or we go up. I went up in the deer yards up above. Up by Pittston Farm a couple times, and I just remember seeing all these deer, and I'd shoot at them, or I'd shoot, my cap go off, and all this stuff. Well, I finally I went to Walmart. It was cheap. I'd had it go off a bunch of times, and I bought a cheap muzzleloader, but inline, and I walked up on this hill, and I was and all of a sudden brand new fresh track, snowing, and he rubbed a tree, and I was like, holy cow. And I was like, he's got to be right here. All the way up, and I see one little softwood nub up on this hardwood, and it's been cut off this side. And I said, I want to work my way over in this way. And I was still looking at the track going. I got up there, and I'm standing there looking down through the hardwoods. I look in front of me, and I kid you not, you can't see it here. The people can't see it, but I was like here to that three-wheeler you had there.
10 feet.
Probably, I'm really. And he didn't know. He was like, I don't know if you've ever seen a partridge when you're like, is that really a partridge? I was like that with a deer because he's laying in the fur thicket. Like they're real low on the ground. I could see his head looking down like that. He didn't know I was there. I was like, is it really a deer? To be that close. And I shot him, and he lay there kicking, deer going around me. You must have had a doe with him, and I was like, holy crap. There's and there's a big 10-point. I was like, jeez. I tracked him into his bed, and he didn't know I was there because every other one I've always jumped him. I hear that thump. I don't know if you listen. When they stand up, they get up weird. The fracking hind end or whatever. Hear this pump pump like that, and usually what I hear is like when they're running through the bushes, hear their horns
rattling.
Well, if you're going like that's why I'm saying like tracking. I'm different. I've never done. I'm not. That's why I don't consider myself a tracker like you guys, because you guys you find one from yesterday, and I've always, when I track now, is like I found one and it's fresh. I'm like, right, oh, it's right now. And but what I learned from tracking is where the bucks travel, so they go in the. I always keep myself where they are. So I go to, if I'm up on the mountain, I'm checking out the notches, or I'm walking down the edge of the thick stuff and then looking down into the open stuff. Yeah. Or I'm down in a wet run in the swamp, going where the alders and stuff are, and looking out. And that's what I've learned from tracking is where deer hang.
Yeah. The bucks, they just want to go around them edges all the time.
They're always in the edges, and you find those rub lines and stuff. That's where you find those big bucks like to be. They'll be out in the open. They'll go out into those cuts. They'll do crazy stuff now and then. But most of what you see when you're seeing them out in the open or walking them roads or doing whatever, they did it at night. During the day they're down in their thick spots and going and trying. At night they'll go miles and miles and miles looking for them does, and when they find her, they'll chase her around. I've never been one that can figure out all the tracks like that. If I'm tracking, I've had times where I tried to track like hell. I've all of a sudden I come back to where I was because I didn't, same friggin' buck. They'd done like I'm like looking. I'm not going on that. But I was like, it was the same buck. I could have saved myself all the big walk I just did. Yeah, big loop. And then I used to be constant. Like I learned once I jump them. If I jump them twice, like I might as well. That's where the trickery come in because I can't. Every time you see them, they're just waiting for you. They got an idea you're coming, so they're not going to let you.
Yeah, you have to play tricks on them.
That's all. So I trickery. I'm a trickster.
We know.
No, Garnett, you're not.
Hey, Hal here. I want to talk a little bit about our partnership with OnX Hunt. I've been using it for a while now, and if anybody knows me, they know I'm not a very techie person, but the OnX app is it's a real time saver. I remember the days when we poured over topo maps everywhere we was going to go and stuff, and I don't do that quite as much anymore. Where it's really helped me is scouting, whether it's deer scouting, or moose, or even turkey hunting in the spring, which I do. It really helps out. I don't have to spend as much time running around the truck burning up the gas. I'm just basically using my OnX. Got it on my phone. Don't even carry a GPS anymore. So I just download the areas where I'm going to be hunting, whether it's up north moose hunting, and I use it mostly on the satellite imagery. I like to see the cuts and the clearings and the turkey hunting, the hidden fields and stuff, but everybody's using it now, from the game wardens to land surveyors, and just a great tool. And with our partnership with OnX, if you use a code BWB, you're going to receive 20% off on your first premium or elite memberships. And you just go to onxmaps.com/hunt. You'll be glad you did. Good luck on the trail.
So one of the first times I ever met you, Dad said we were snowmobiling up in Chapman, and he says, he said, buddy of mine's going today, Rick.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go to slide down on the border.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, but Garnett. And I said, oh, yeah, I know Garnett. I met him a couple of times, but so we took him snowmobiling up the slide down that day.
Hey, those guys could afford to wreck their snowmobiles. He's like, I go up there and Mike, and he's like, we're going to catch you when you come up there if we can make it. Because, like, nobody had made it up this bank. You had a 500, your dad had something.
We didn't have mountain sleds in.
And so they got up and they walked up on the, hopefully you make it. And I'm like, oh, I hope I do.
His eyeballs are a big
I got up there and they grab onto my skis, pull me in, and I was like, ooh, thanks. I can't afford to wreck mine. I'd be riding with no windshield or something. I was a forest ranger. I couldn't. I could barely afford to eat.
Kid of beans.
Exactly. Oh yeah. And then we went one time on the. Jesus, father goes, we're gonna ride all the way. Like we're gonna go to the board from. We went from Beatty in Longtime, got on, and we're gonna ride all the way to the border. I was like, slide downs in there. I knew enough about the border, and I was like, geez, I don't know. Well, okay, I'm game. We're going along. We stopped, had hot dogs, and having a blast. And then we got to one spot on the south side. It slide downs over here, and then they go, "We're going to let you down with a rope." I was looking at them, and I'm like, I've never snowmobiled where we need ropes. I was sitting there looking at it, and I was like looking down over, and I was like, wow, that's steep, huh? Like that, big ledges and all that. So I was like, listen, I get on. He's like, get your hands off that throttle, your old man. And Mike, I was like, oh, yeah. Well, God, I don't want to go faster, believe me. They let me down like this, and all of a sudden I was going faster. I was like I go, holy crap. It's like, what are they doing? And I leaned back, had to lay back on that and grab my seat. It's so steep. And all of a sudden went over ledges as tall as this. And I was like this, and I had to give it the gas, and I went down through all these trees. And I remember his old man even saying after, he goes, you can ride. And I'm like, I didn't want to die and didn't want to lose my snowmobile. And we got up there, and I was there with the rope, and I was down there, and I realized I was looking up at these big ledges, and Rick yells to me, he goes, we're going to find another way. I'm like, you're coming down, though, right? Snow's like up there.
No, you said, I says, we're going to find another way around that looked pretty steep, and you go, the hell you are.
I didn't want to be in there by myself.
It's always best to be the first one down in those situations. I remember I was with Dana on one of my first trips. This is probably 15 years ago, and we run on the border. And we all get to this ledge, and it's probably a 15 or 20 foot drop, and they said, Dana looks over it and he says, yeah, we're going to jump off this one. And I'm looking down. I never jumped off ledges before,
I did
so
that.
Dana jumped off first, and there was like 8 of us. I said, well, I'm going to get fresh snow if I'm going, so I bailed off there too. Right. And one of the guys in the group wouldn't go, so he pushed his sled over the ledge.
Oh. No.
And it darted right down in there. It took us forever to get it out.
That doesn't work. No. Ask Hal. Hal talked me into going, and he goes, remember when we were looking for antlers, and we went in behind Kibby, and there's a Kibby stream's pretty big in there. And I was like this, and I was looking. I go, Hal, that's pretty deep. He goes, oh, you can go right across that. And I was like looking, and I was like, geez, I don't know. And I was like, you can't.
It's only up to Hal's knees. It was up to your waist.
No, I can't even tell you how bad it was, because we. He goes, he watched me go across, and I stood on my seat. Water's going over my. Remember that, Hal? And I got on the other side, and I got hung up. He goes, maybe we can find another. I'm like, you're coming across. He wasn't gonna. He was thinking. I could see after he saw how bad. I was hung up on the other side. I had to break the ice. Remember? And he come across right where I broke the ice. He's able to ride up on. But I was like, holy, you're coming over here, because then another place. Remember we had another time we went. There was like 20 bull. We were going and looking for antlers. And we had open water. He goes, oh, you can skim that. And I was like, it was like only like here to the wall. Yeah. Remember that? And we had to go across the opening. And I was
I see him now. You can skim that like nothing.
It wasn't skimming. He's just like, we can go across that. And I was like, I hit it going fast, so I did like a jump. And when I hit, I fell off my snowmobile. I was out on near the open water. I was like, my snowmobile went to shore, and I was like, I was like, holy cow. Got over there, and then we were great guides. We didn't have matches. We're both freezing to death. It was like 20 below. And
20 below.
We're going to have our sandwiches, and we couldn't. He's like,
froze up.
Yeah, we tipped the sled up. We had some crap shit paper. We were semi-prepared, but we had no way to light it. And he goes, why don't we use the spark plug? I was like, well, that's pretty ingenious. We wrapped that up and got everything ready, and we got the fire going like that. I go, what the hell are we looking for antlers for when you a sandwich, one side be frozen, the other side burnt. Try to eat it, and it's like the inside the ice. It was like crazy. Yeah.
Was that the same day we went all the way to Norris?
Oh, yeah, it might have been. No. That was
Different day?
That was a different day. We went from my house. He come to my house, and we took off through the woods
Before daylight, remember?
before daylight.
We headed up over ball. Same thing. It was about 20 below. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
super cold, but it's like it's a nice day. But we got up there. We're the only ones on that road. He went up. He goes, I'm going to go up there, and we're just going to swap off on side roads. And he started, and he went down one, and I was like, woof, went up this other one. I got 5 antlers on a 1 mile stretch. I go, this is a record day. I come out, and he come out, and he's like, he'd done his road, and I'm following a little bit more, and I go, what the hell, are you waiting for me? Why doesn't he go at the next road? And I get up there, and he's sitting there with like his 4 or 5 antlers. So we had a pile of antlers, and we'd only gone like 2 miles, and his sled was broke. I was like, He goes, I blew the motor. I was like,
Burn a hole right in the piston.
yeah.
My oil pump in that Tundra come undone.
Oh yeah. So I towed it out to the front of the road, left our antlers and stuff there, and he got on. And we rode double on a Scandic.
That's what I want a picture of. is
We rode
Garnett
double.
and Hal coming out like that.
Double.
Hal
from
was
the
cold.
Norris
He kept
Road
snuggling.
Back to Jackman, double.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I didn't know Garnett. and so-
Hal had his head down my back. We're hanging on.
Yeah, I was hugging him.
It was freezing. We rode double all the way back. So we did 2 miles of road and got like 10 antlers, and then we got in his truck and drove back. And then we were like midnight before we got home.
Yeah.
I was like, those antlers cost $80 an antler or something. I was like, holy cow.
I didn't know Garnett when we first opened the restaurant. He would come here. He'd be shed hunting, and he'd stop in here to have lunch, him and his wife, and I would look out there to his sled every time he'd come in and see what he's hanging on. If he'd have a couple antlers, I'd get pissed. Who's this guy?
He's honing in on my
he's
area.
in the wrong area.
Yeah.
First time I ever saw you was like I saw you on a video with my buddy Pete. I was sitting there and where there are horn stars.
Yeah.
I was sitting there and I haven't been out of Jackman. Way back when I started guiding with Hal, nobody called. I was taught to call when I was a kid. So I remember when I used to love to call, and nobody did it, but now everybody in the world. And I had one call I never used to do, and I'd heard a bull growl once, and I did that a couple times. If you got a really big bull, sometimes it's kind of like that snort wheeze is for a
Can you
buck.
do it?
They'll go away.
I'm not going to do it on here. I'll do it sometime for you when I'm not.
Because that is
I'm like. I'm not gonna. I don't know what I sound like on
because
here.
that's a hard call.
That's
when they get
what we
pissed.
call the bark, right?
Yeah.
They barking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hal always wanted me to show. I wouldn't show anybody that. That's kind of my last resort because, I don't know. I learned. Everybody's like thinking I
secret
watch
in the
moose or
back
whatever.
pocket.
No, I learned this my way back when my father used to be the head of. They field supervised for the unorganized territories doing assessing. So he would assess like these properties. But I used to ride with him and stuff. And I remember I was up with Jack McPhee, and he had a young girl there that knew how to call moose. And so I learned from that. And then my uncles, my father's family my great uncle was a forest ranger in New Brunswick, which is game warden, and so I'm the black sheep over there probably, but but he was a game warden and forest ranger over there, and he showed me a lot about calling too. So there's still stuff that I see people don't do that I do. So maybe it's wrong. Like I saw the tracking, I always had a bucket of water, because a cow when she's pissing, if you do that into a
Right.
puddle, I do stuff like that, and like you don't see many guys doing.
No,
that.
smart. You're imitating them,
Right.
Everything you can to.
Everything you can, yeah.
Well, yeah. Back then, I always figured what the hell I was getting for money from them guys. I owed it to them, so do my best, to make sure they get their chance. And I didn't want to give up all my secrets because I was probably the only guy calling at the beginning. Everybody else was out with cans and trying to do that stuff. And I was like, well, I think I sound like a moose, but I'm not going to do it because everybody didn't know. They'd make fun of you or something. So
Yeah.
but
Whatever you did always worked.
it worked. Yep.
We should get that film you did with Pete, that hornography.
Yeah.
We should put that on YouTube.
That's probably the best. I was sitting there and I was like, "That is so cool!" Like way back, I remember Pete started looking for it.
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, is it funny?
Yeah, they
got-
never seen that?
No.
They got their Hugh.
I
They
gotta
got
check
their
it out.
Hugh Hefner.
Yep, they're wearing their
Robes on.
wearing their pajamas.
So the backstory on that was the Jackman had a moose calling competition. This is it was probably 12 years ago or so anyway, 14 years ago. But they had a moose calling competition, and so Pete and I decided we were going to do it. We wanted to make a film.
You had to video it, right?
Yeah, we had to video it, yeah. It was the best moose calling video. So Pete and I got together and we decided we were going to do it, but if we were going to do it, it had to be comedy. So, we won't give it
So
any
is
more
that
than
on? Is that on YouTube?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
I
Yeah, but I'm going to do some editing to it. So before it's out there.
I saw it because of I don't remember if Hannah or Holly, but because I knew I hung out with Pete some way back and drank whatever. I don't know. Those guys, whatever we were doing. I should mention I got divorced when I about the same time I met Hal. That's how I ended up always.
Bad influence.
His dad was my wingman. I go there and I loved his dad. We go and we go every day. I had a routine down, and we go there and we'd have. When I got back in the evening, he'd be like, "Come on, Garnett," and we'd ride down to the bar, and he'd have CC and 7. So I never drank one till then, and I'm. If I was in the Northland, I'd probably order one and cheer it to pop because, I used to have them with him. And like I said, as wingman, we had quite a generational gap because, I'd sit there and he'd be like, "Oh, Garnett, there's one coming," like that, and I'd turn around and be some 50-year-old cigarette or something. I was like in my 20s. I was like, well, that one's yours, Pop. Or something. Till later, if we'd had a lot, But I used to dance with Rick's mom a lot. But make sure Dad knows that wasn't one Pop pointed out. Right. Don't worry, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Everybody loved Pops. Huh?
Oh, I watched. He almost shot my truck. It was like I'm honest to God. I guided a husband and wife into this spot, and they didn't like where I'd put them for stands. Of
course they didn't.
I went in and they put their stands up, and I put them where I thought. One was a wet run, and they went through, and you could. His was. I was like, it's a good spot. There's big rubs in there, and old rubs, going up through, and I said like. The deer will be through here in the lake, and they cut out behind there. There's an old winter road and come in, hung a left, and I was like, deer will come through here. There's only, that's a good spot. And so I had him put his up, and he's like, well, this isn't like he'd hunted up in the Allagash the year before, and they'd hunted in cuts. And he didn't like, in the woods like that. And I was like, I went and Hal's didn't want us to get chewed, so he's like, make sure they put their stands up. So he put up. And then he had his wife. He refused to put stairs up for her. There's a tree with head and limbs. And he couldn't climb that. And I was like, well, don't you want to put her up some stairs for stand? Nice lady. I was like, all right, well, this is a good spot. It's the end of that winter road and the end of where they cut. And I said, the bucks will come around the back of that.
Right.
They'll be looking, So, that's a good spot. And he had this, I remember way back, I never used since, but he put some gel stuff on my boots. Forgot about it. He said you're supposed to wear it on the way in. worked because like I had the buck follow me all the way out. And then back later when I went to go back, they both saw a buck, and she passed up a 8-point because she saw the big one up north.
Yeah,
and this is I don't know what she saw, but he was all mad. She passed it up, and he was mad that about his spot, I guess, still because he had a deer coming. He stood up and had a nice buck there, and when he stood up, his stand creaked. Deer took off, and I was like, well, it didn't take off, turned, walked away, knew something was wrong.
Didn't go far.
Didn't go far, but he's like didn't like that spot. So he had more stands, and I brought him into another spot, like up off Sandy Stream, back in when they crossed the upper part there, and went back in there. And I went out and put him. He was so happy to be sitting out there looking at 400 yards of cut. I was like, yeah, good luck. And I went and I put his wife in a good spot. I was hoping she'd get one. He wouldn't.
Right.
But I was like, I wanted him to get deer, but I was just like, that's not me. I don't like. That wasn't what I thought was a good one. And they both saw a deer in one day, first day. And I consider that my job. I did my job already once I showed him one. But. I went back and with Pop to get there. And the funny thing is that lady about broke my neck because she's claiming he was bound and determined they were going to sit there all day and had a pee jug. And I was like, that's hard. It's cold. And I went down. I said, you know what? I'm going to go down and see if that lady's all right. Just walk in there and see. I walked in and see her. She goes, you mind if I get down and go? And I was like, no, let's go out and have lunch at the truck. Something. He doesn't know what we're doing. She gets out on the end of that branch. And I'm like standing there looking around, and all of a sudden she come down out of there and landed on my head. And I caught her feet like this, and she was upside down. And I fell over, and she's like this. She was so scared. I was like, well, I couldn't even. I was 2 inches shorter. I used to be 6'5". But I was like, holy cow! I walked out of there and like, holy smokes. Yeah. And then I went back and I got pot that night after. The next day I went and set that up, and the next day after that I left him there. I said, "If you're going to sit all day, go ahead and sit all day. I'll take off." Because he's bound and determined. They had pee jugs, and they're going to stay there. I was like, "I guess the more time in your stand, they'll be there. Good luck." Yeah. And I headed off, and I got Pop, and I said, "I'm going to go get their stand, so I'm not doing this some midnight something." And I went and got Pop, and we walk in, and I said, "Bring your gun." I'll lug the stands, like that. And I said, in case you see something. He just offered to walk in with me. Walked in there, and we were walking back out, and there's a deer on the side of the road, probably 30 yards in front of my truck. Pop goes, I was like, Pop. I'm standing behind him with both of those stands, like that. And he's like this. He pulls up and shot. And the deer was running, and he shot. I was like waiting to see if he's going to hit my truck because they run across the winter road. And he goes, I don't know about that. And I was kind of like, I don't know either.
we might have a flat hut tire.
I didn't know either. I didn't hear the bang. I didn't hear it hit anything. But I was like, he missed. So I wasn't. I've been sworn to seeking. Pop's gone, so I can say it now. But he and I are buddies. So he wouldn't have told if I'd missed. So he might have hit the bar. But
yeah.
So you had a pretty good season last season.
Yep. Yeah, I got a good one. You want to hear about it, you mean?
Yeah. That's what we do here, Garnett.
I know. Well, you know what? Actually, I don't know if it's luck or what, but I smelted last week close to here, and I had, but I just showed up, and this morning I see 2 does about 100 yards below Ron McKenzie's driveway coming from the pines.
Yeah, they cross there all the time.
Yeah.
There's been actually a group of 8 over there.
Oh, really? Yeah. There's 2 little does, come across the road.
Yeah, nice.
So it's pretty. I'm glad they made it. So, well, last year I don't know why I hope my son-in-law he got lucky right off the bat, and
well, you tell that story because that was a good one too.
Yeah, we were actually up on the mountain. I went ahead. He's never got a deer, so I mean, he's older too. So I mean, he's like me shooting probably, or maybe worse. I don't. He had never grown up with anybody to show him,
train him,
And I really want somebody. I can't wait to have grandkids old enough for somebody to go with me. I've showed. Other people some stuff, but I'd like to have somebody go with me before I can't do it. But
especially your own blood.
Yeah, I'd like to have somebody that care and remember it. But Anyways, I had him with me, and he was with me, But we got up there, and we were up on a mountain, way up, and I don't know why I went up on top, and normally I don't, but there's a notch, and I was like, I was like debating whether I was able to go over the other side and want to come back, because we were up there, and there hadn't been any sign down where we were, and I was like, I think he was wondering what the hell we were doing, because I was up there and I put my gun down, pulling my pants up because I'm getting, it takes me about 2 weeks to get in shape, I was like, put my gun down, and I was like,
take a notch up on the belt,
and I was like this about to, and I look out in front of me and I see him come up, stop, and I was trying to look back at my son-in-law and trying to get him to stop because he's still walking.
What did you see come up and stop?
Oh, it was a big 225, and it had a drop. It would have been a 9-point, but it busted 2 of them off, and the drop was actually broke 2 inches.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show stuff on here, but you guys can't see it. I just thought of that, but it was like a 2-inch drop off it. But I've got a couple of drops now, but it's funny. I found a shed in that same area on the opposite side. And it was like it looked like the same deer, but it was on the opposite side. Of where this one was. But I got him to stop, and I didn't think he was going to get it. And I was trying to get my gun up because I could see his rack was big, and I'm a rack man. And I'm trying to get my gun up, and the deer started going, and then he shot, and it went down. So it was it died right there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So his first deer was a 225-pound.
Yep. No, it would have it's like 7 points left.
Yeah.
Was that like early in the season?
Yeah, it was early. It wouldn't have been. That's why. Everybody I don't know how I rate I've shot a lot of deer over 200 pounds, but I don't always care about, I got mad when Japman, I come in second to a contest. He had way back it bothered me when I lost it because it wasn't the idea of losing it. It was the idea when I stand there with the guy that won it because I was 2 pounds different. I shot my deer with a muzzleloader on the last day of the season, back when they had the hammer and that.
Yeah.
It's 236, and I was like, that deer was beat to shit.
Yeah.
That's all right.
But he was like his hide was hanging off him, and his horns was all broke off. The rack didn't even look right. It was like he'd fought so much, and he had to have lost one because when I was skinning, I don't remember if it was Timmy Banner who was there with me, but there's somebody from town that showed up when I was skinning it, and they was like, you shot it in the rear. And I didn't shoot it in the rear. There's a horn stuck in it.
Oh yeah.
So he'd lost, even as big as he was. He'd had something happen where he had wounds all. His ears were split. His nose didn't look right. He's just a big old bruiser. And this guy shot his the very first day. The one that I was at the Northland. We're drinking, and he's like, "Oh, next year you'll beat me." I'm like, "My deer is like I can't explain this deer, buddy." I've shot a lot of deer, and I've shot heavier than that one, and it wasn't the deer that this one is.
Yeah.
It's so long.
Just by the frame.
Just the frame, and his hind end was down. You know how they run themselves down, and I'm like,
I bet that thing would have been 280 or.
It was giant. Yeah. I've shot a lot of deer, and I just like that one. I've shot a lot of, I saw, my uncle shot way more than I have. To be fair. Mount Gordon, I remember, and he's down there, he loves to teach kids. He loves to take people out. So he had a kid just a few years ago, muzzleloader hunting. Him and Sammy White, they hunt with, they had their muzzleloaders, and they handed this kid, I don't know if he hit it or missed it, but it's nice buck. You look at it, handed them that, and then they went down, and people were like I remember them saying, "Oh, wait, 170." I'm like, you look at that deer; it's all run down, big giant rack. It's probably 200 at the beginning of the season. So
easy.
That's why, I've been in the Big Butts Club a lot of times, and I was like, you know what? If you want to be, all these people that really want to be in it, then shoot your deer right off the bat. If you want to wait till muzzleloader season, you're going to be shooting a lot of 180, 190-pound deer that were 200 and something to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it doesn't make it a lesser deer because it's like those deer have outsmarted everybody.
It's the same deer.
Yeah, same deer, as that was the first day. So unless you get a giant one, like in that one, and I remember in there, and him kind of saying, you'll beat me next year. And I'm like, you got to see the thing I shot, you know,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's like,
Some of
it
the
was
bucks-
like, it must have been 9 feet long or something, you know,
Yeah.
you put it in my truck and it hung out the back.
Yeah.
And the horns are super wide and they hung up way up on the side.
What was the story on that deer when you shot it?
When I shot it, I don't want to tell it. You want to know the truth, is that when I got out of the truck. Like I wasn't tracking or anything. I was up at Pittston, and I was just coming out.
I love Garnett's honesty. I really do, man.
Yeah,
He
well,
tells it like it is.
That wasn't
wait a
I'd hurt my leg. I don't know how. If you remember, like I jumped in the back of my forestry truck, and like when there's snow, my foot slid out the other side, and then my leg stayed.
Oh.
So I'd used up all my sick time hunting, probably guiding.
One or the other.
So I was like, I had to get in there and ride like I was riding. I go try to walk into the woods. I couldn't really walk, and I go down and up there. It's one of them years where there's a lot of snow, and they were going into their yards, and I'd walk in there and I'd see deer, and gun wouldn't go off. I was just ugly, you know. I'm like this is at that time would have been the first time I hadn't tagged a deer in years, you know. Like I prided myself in shooting anything. I wouldn't, but I would, you know, I hadn't learned to control. You know,
Yeah.
and this one was up in the road, you know, like, and I honestly didn't even know for a fact that I'd gotten it, because like when I shot, there's so much smoke out of my
Right.
gun. I was like, God, this figures, you know. It's like it was a giant. Doe come first, you know, like and there's a trail. They actually. So I mean, I shot it not far from Pittston, you know, so. I was happy, you know, but I got it out of the truck. So I guess if you know he hunted his up, didn't say I wasn't saying his wasn't a good deer. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you know, 236 is the big. I consider that my biggest deer, even though it's not the one that was the heaviest.
Now you got to clarify that you didn't shoot it out of the truck.
No,
you see
no.
it from the truck.
Exactly. That's how we always make sure we get out and shoot them. But that's
Right.
I mean I've never done anything like, for me, like I've never done anything like, I don't night hunt. I haven't never done anything like, I like when I watch on TV and I don't like to, I put out stands for sports, and I used to put out stands for friends and stuff, and I never, like, I put them out in great spots, and then I never sit in them, you know, like, and I just, I would sit in it if I was there, you know, if I was hunting, and I hunt the conditions. So like you can track deer down when it's crunchy. I just like, if it's crunchy, I'm looking for other ways to try to figure them out. And, you know, and when I'd try rattle and do something different, but I can't, I know my limits, you know, and I hunt the conditions. So,
Yeah.
you know, and if I was tracking, like when I'm looking for tracks, I'm looking for something hot, you know, like if I know it is made in the night, I'd try that. And it's got to be windy or something. I got to have advantage. I think for me to, I cheat, you know, I guess. But it's not illegal. What I do is, I guess you should say.
No, we all got to have an advantage, though.
I don't. I mean, like if it's dead calm and you've got 1 inch of snow and it's crunchy underneath, I just know I'm going to be jumping on a bunch. And if I'm going to, that's fine. I've done that 1,000 times. Yeah. But if I did that, I'd be trying to figure out where he's going, trying to figure out what he's doing, trying to sneak around. I'd try to figure out what he's doing so I could get an advantage on him.
Right.
You know, now I've gotten to the point where I'm big into racks, so like I'm looking at horns when I'm looking, like as much as I blew it 2 years ago, first time I hadn't tagged deer in quite a while. And I'll admit why I did, you know, like, and I've gotten like you, Hal. I don't just shoot anything, you know. So
you get a little fussy.
Got fussier, but I got in a contest with my friend Mike Gould, who shot a lot of deer. He's a better shot than anything I could think of, because his scope has those lines. You can shoot hundreds of yards. But my wife always tells him he's waiting. He gets mad, you know. He'd be like, "You're waiting because he has spots. You might be a bog or something, you know, where you can see the whole thing." But we got into this contest. I was thinking I was pretty cocky. He goes, whoever shoots the biggest deer this year is going to dress up in a nightie and cook the other one breakfast. I hunt him. I told him, I was like, I hope he listens to this, because I was like, I didn't know you thought about me like that, Mike. but I was like this. I go, but it's going to be you wearing it, you know, like that. So I was like super cocky, and he's super cocky. He shot a lot of big deer. he had for a while there. He had the biggest shot with a muzzleloader, but you know, for in the mast.
Yeah.
But he had, you know, we did that, and I see he goes, he figured weight because I've been shooting really big rack deer. I kind of like that thing I was watching the other day on your guys' YouTube stuff. You had weight in horns. Weight and horns would have been better. I wish I'd known you guys were doing that. I could have used that one.
You can jump in with us this year in our pool too.
Oh yeah, well, I hate to see you guys in panties and stuff, but Peaches there is, you know, I was like he's got a smooth voice on here, you know. Now I don't know. It's where, you know, but he's quite a cat. He shot when, you know, when you see his picture, I'm like. Mine are like we come to my house, I've got them out on my pool area fence, you know. My wife's like mad, you know, because if you ever go by my place, you'll see moose antlers on the lawn, all the old ones I put out like that, and then I left out my deer racks, and just like I've got a garage full, and my parents used to have their house burnt, and I had lost quite a few of my good ones. I had one that was webbed. I shot when I was a forest ranger. Webbed.
Wow.
You know, like it went around like this, like a moose does. And it had points. I don't know if you ever...
He must have been a heavy deer.
Believe it or not, he weighed 188.
Yeah.
I shot him. And that was the last of last week, a muzzleloader down in Wesley. You won't believe this deer had purple. I was looking at his horns, looked kind of purplish.
Yeah.
I was looking at it, and it had the holes in it. You know, like this rack was just super unique.
Yeah.
And I brought it to, I was like, I'd never shot one like that. I got it with a muzzleloader back when you had the old hammer and all that, and the set trigger. I shot it, and then I had to reload, and I got out of the head a little bit, and I was like, because I was on a twitch trail, and I went down a little bit further, and I looked over the other side of the twitch trail after I got reloaded, and there he was standing. He was humpbacked, you know. Yeah, like a that's the opposite of hump, isn't it?
Yeah, sway back. Yeah,
you know, but it was it was the opposite. He had that back that tipped down, you know. And,
old deer,
and he's old. I didn't know how old he was because when I got to the tagging station, this was in Wesley. I went to the Cloud 9. I used to go there and have. If you ever watched me as a forest ranger, that's how I met Hal. Really, is because Fred was guiding for him. Remember they used to do whoopie pies. Betsy, well, down there I used to go there for gingerbread, and I went there to tag, and I was like, I'm gonna have me a gingerbread and coffee.
Yeah.
I go in, and the biologist was there, and the game warden lived across the street, and they're both standing there, and I don't know why I've always had aversions back then to wardens, but I hadn't done it. I hadn't done anything wrong, so I was standing there, and they asked if they could take a tooth, and I was like, yeah, why not? Opened it up, there's no teeth. They all wore it right down, you know, like in. He goes, and they like the black stuff that was on them. It just come out of velvet. It just come out of velvet like a couple weeks before that. He goes, you saved this deer from a miserable death, really, you know, and they offered me another deer. I've never had I was like, really? Because I was going to take, but then I asked, can I keep this one? You know, if I could be allowed to keep the one I had. And those guys wanted them horns. You know, the horns, he goes, if I could have shot it 2 years ago, he goes, you can't imagine what kind of buck you would have got because you could pull the hide up on it. You could, and the horns were like probably not giant like this. You know, they weren't way out. They were like probably like that, but webbed all the way up, and the points is flat coming out of it, and there's rounded on the front, almost like he dug with the front of his antlers. You know, but I don't know if they do that or what.
Sometimes the beams get so long. I shot one like that once. They're all black on the end.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Well, we got me all excited here. That's exactly. had blacks on the blacks.
Whereas horns are digging in the dirt when they're feeding. Yeah. I shot one like that.
Exactly. That's exactly what this was.
Really
and it was all purplish, and he goes, and they wouldn't let me shoot. I had to give up that one. You know, so I ended up, we turned it all in hamburger or whatever, and I had that, and I loved that rack because nobody I've seen ever got one like that. It was flat around. It had points coming. I had drops coming both sides. It had stuff sticking out of it, you know, like everywhere. It had a bunch of points. It was really just.
So this is a stupid question, but you said you lost them in a fire, and I know Rick lost some in a fire also. Do the antlers just
Yeah, they just disintegrate.
I don't know what happened, but I lost a gun. I lost a probably my most expensive gun that I had when I trapped was a bunt line. I had a 22 bunt line.
Yeah.
They said if that had been a 44, like they'd had the Wild West hunters, but I would have had something worthwhile. But that was there. My 12 gauge that I'd originally shot a lot of deer with was there, and just my father had him for himself, and my bunt line had the big long, but I had it for trapping. I couldn't hit anything with it, but
we lost.
But I lost them. But my father had a bunch of my antlers, and I never put up all my antlers. Like I wish I'd mounted them. Like way back, I didn't have the money to do it, and I got 4 of them mounted. Most of what I have is skulls, and skull caps, and I cut them off.
When my camp burnt, on the Hardscrubber Road, that first camp I had.
Oh, you lost them in that too. Your dad lost a bunch, right?
Yeah, he lost a bunch in his house too. But when that camp burned, I had like six or seven 200-pound bucks on the wall, and we had this great big set of moose horns that Dad had shot.
Oh,
and I had it mounted in the back bedroom when you walked in, and the back bedroom never even really burned. It just got superheated in there, and it was the funniest thing. I'd never forget this. But all that was left was it looked like a buffalo. The big palms had disintegrated. There wasn't even a piece of them laying there. It was like they went to ashes, and there was two points that went right down to a point where his beams come out of his head, and that was all that was left. And it never burned. It was the heat, and it just disintegrated those horns. Never forget that, though. But no antlers. You'd think in a fire you'd say, oh, well, they're probably all black or something.
Right.
Nope. That's what it did to them. They just...
Mine were gone, I guess. My father had a big sunroom. There's big ceilings like this. And he had all the racks and stuff. My father looked like he shot a lot of deer, but he had a lot of my deer there, really. So I mean, my father's like Pop, probably. He'd take me out, do stuff. And like I said, he's been a guide. He's 4th generation or 3rd, depending if you. But he guided. He liked to take people out and have people. If he was there, he'd be like, I grew up probably with more advantage than some people, because if I was with my Uncle Gordon or my Uncle Ronnie or my father, it didn't matter what buck. It could have been a 400-pound deer. They'd be go ahead and try it. And they wouldn't be mad if you missed. Wouldn't be. I was pretty fortunate. And they both hunted. Like I said, they hunted different. They fished different. Gordon fished all. If you look at every pond, if you go 20-mile radius of his house, any direction, doesn't matter what they are. He's fished every pond. He's fished, and he's got canoes on tons of them. Yep. He's probably the best, pond fisherman there's going. Ronnie, everything from the dam to Caratunk.
He loved to fish the river.
Fish the river and the Dead River, both of those, and his hunting was there. He lost his licenses a lot of times, so he didn't go over. But I mean, most of his are there, and he shot more big deer than just in that area. And I saw one track 2 years ago with Gordon. I would have done what you guys done, followed it for a season, because I was with Gordon, Sammy, Gordon, Sammy, and I. We were in a spot, and Gordon goes, "Look at that track." Sammy was a moose track, and I was walk up, and it's the biggest deer track I've ever seen in there. And I don't know. I'd like to think he's still around, but.
So, why don't you give me the coordinates on that, and I'll check it out for you.
Yeah, do it. It's a type you would do a whole season if you knew where his tracks, if you had snow. There's things that I remember when I was a kid, and when I was younger, I remember Hal saying, if Hal's the first person I heard say signpost, or something like that. Yeah. I knew rubs when I see them, which ones have been old. Yeah. Hal goes, "I'm signpost rubs." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I was like this, and they say them. Oh, yeah. But he created that word, I think.
It is funny to see. I thought about that. I saw someone using it. It was like the big woods, signpost, trickle. There were all these terms, and I think they all probably came from your book, did they?
Yeah, well, something happened, because I can tell when they've had the influence. They got a fanny pack and they got boots on the outside. There's things like that. I was kind of mad at some of that stuff, because I don't want them to know everything. I'm kind of like Gordon. I don't want it to snow till muzzleloader, or
don't want them
or Thanksgiving. I don't want them. I'd I'd rather, but there's never anywhere near like the hunters when I was a kid. So
no, there isn't.
We go up here and they're like every road you go down, there'd be hunters and you'd hear shooting.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because a lot of people they think, you're teaching everybody they're going to kill all your deer,
but there's nobody hunting.
No.
Nobody hunting, and there's like I'm getting big rack deer. I'm seeing big rack deer.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get them.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
like a lot of these deer that you're shooting them to weight wise. 3-year-old deer can weigh 200 pounds here because it has to be, or he's going to die.
Exactly. Genetics.
But genetics, yep. And up and like when I've worked in Clayton Lake and I've worked down Wesley. Wesley's got another place got. That country down there has got wicked racks that are just gnarly or big.
Yeah.
I had friends down there, Courtney Hammond was a forest ranger, and him and his father shot a lot of deer. And I shot down there like you can't help but be legal
it's
there
the
because
minerals
to get
in the soil.
to get a deer down there, you feel pretty. I shot a deer every year down there, but it was work. It's like what it is now here.
Yeah.
Back then the champion cut the same way that Plum Creek, and Scott Paper and all. They destroyed the deer yard. When I was a kid, there was deer yards in Cat Heart here. We'd go look for it.
Yeah.
My uncle was probably the first person I knew that antler hunted, actually look for him,
Yeah.
and then go look for him. When I was a kid, I remember going, Joel ain't going to believe this because he likes antlers probably better than I do maybe, but I remember when I was a kid going up, it wasn't Rainy Brook, but it's just north of there, up by Sweeney Bog. There's a little brook. I'm not even going to mention it because, we used to fish it, and I don't know if there's trout in it or not. But way back, I remember we were going in there, and my father would be like, "Get out!" And I'd go up, and I'd have to throw antlers out of the road. Yeah. I was like, "What is wrong with these moose? They're all in the road up here." And nobody had been in there for years. And I'm kid you not, Joe, I probably threw 20 or 30 antlers out of the road because my father didn't want flats, like this. And then, honestly, it was just because back then nobody looked for them.
Nobody did, no.
I was young, I was going up there and I was more keen on, when we got there, he's like, we're only keeping our limit. He had ice and that. And he goes, but you can eat whatever you want. And turns out I can eat like 40. back then. But this brook was so full. It was just, there's bogs and, we'd heard about it from friends that had a camp at Northeast Cary near where ours. So we had a camp at A-Ball, where Rick got his dad would go off all these different places. I basically ended up where my family's camps and stuff with family. So
yeah.
So you never finished? The deer you got last year, was that tracking?
You've been on a great big circle since.
It wasn't tracking. This is tracking. You want tracking stories? You don't want this one. It wasn't. Honestly, it was raining. I don't know why I took that. I decided I didn't have to work,
Right.
And I was and I went out, and then I was like, why in the hell am I out here? Because it was warm, rain, and I was walking up this winter road, and all of a sudden a buck takes off right next to me. I'm like, oh man, I'm not even looking, I was walking my head down or something, and I was like, well, I'm just going. I found sheds there last year. It's not far from here, but I decided I was going to go and just do a big loop and just look around. And I got in there and I found I was doing, like I said, I just stayed in the thick stuff, but I was looking into open stuff, and I got in there and I was all droopy wet, just warm, but it's starting to spit snow. I was hot, but it was spitting snow, and I said, I'm going to sit on against this log, just sit here for a minute because I'm just wore out and I'm going to get the hell out of here. So I sat on this, and I looked, and I stayed where I was. It was thick on this side, and the edge of that, looking down, and I could look out through is all hemlocks and softwoods out this way, and some hardwoods, but it's mostly softwood. And I was looking, and all of a sudden I hear thump, 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 deer behind me, and I was like, damn it! I wasn't sitting against anything. I was sitting, I was like, must see me. What it was is, I'm pretty sure this buck was chasing the doe. It must have been a doe come up by me because it was right, and I was ticked because I was like, I didn't see it, and I was like, I'm sitting here like a fool, you know, like, and it's starting to snow and rain. I was like, I had enough of this. I was cold. I rolled over like an old man does in the sideways. Time to turn. Gun on the ground.
That's how I do it.
Gun on the ground, and I look, and I'm looking head on at a deer, maybe 70 yards, a long shot for me. You know, like I'm looking down there, and I was like that, and I was like, grab my gun, and I was like, he's going to go, because he's looking straight on at me, and I like this, and I pull up, I see horns going way up over his head. I was like, oh, got to try. Between two trees, head on, and he boom, whoops. Banging your thing now.
Got him.
Got him. Right there. We'll put sound effects. Well, I shot and he disappeared, and that's like, you know, that's one of two things when you're me. So, so I got up and I finished the old man thing of standing up and pulling my britches up because they was like wet and falling. And I went down there and he's right upside down, and them horns dug in the ground, and I could see there's a big rack.
Yeah.
You know, I knew it was a big one. You know,
Nice
and
one. Yeah.
brow tines is for like, I never measured them, but it's like probably 10 inches. They're huge, as long as the other ones. They split up on the top, and there's all these little points coming out. I was like, geez.
I saw that deer on Facebook, and I said, "You son of a gun! You did it again."
I've been pretty lucky.
No
you
snow,
know,
yeah.
I've had probably 10 times in my life. I've had somebody tell me, "That's a deer of a lifetime, boy." And they told me that, and I was like, well, it might be, you know.
Maybe,
you never know, you know, because there is some luck to everything you do, you know. And I mean, like, I didn't know I was going to see that deer. You don't know that.
No.
When you're out hunting, you don't know that. So,
Yeah.
you know, that wasn't like I tracked it down. I wasn't like Hal, just kind of, you know, like chased him across some place.
You were out in the rain.
I was out in the rain. I mean, that's what you know. There's a big amount of. I hunt where the deer are, you know. I mean, if I hunt where the deer, I think where the deer are going to be,
right.
You know. I've had times where I'm tracking, and I've got other deer coming back on that track, so that isn't tracking that same deer, but I got a deer.
You were into them.
So I got a deer. Like if you go up along I was hunting along the river, and I don't know if I tell this story because I didn't get it, but I was tracking a huge buck. It's like you put your hand down and like it went across, you know. Like my hands can't see on here, people, but I'm
big.
I'm a big boy, you know. But it's like I had it in there, and I was like, yes, it's giant. I just wanted them bad, and I had to go to the bathroom. And so I stopped to go to the bathroom, and I had put my gun down, and I don't know what made me look up. But I'm like standing there, he's just looking right back at me, like 25 yards, 30 yards.
Like,
and he turned.
you are.
He was tired of where. I mean, this is like I said. I was just telling you. You know, I haven't done the 2-day tracking jobs. This is fresh tracks on fresh snow, and he just turned around and didn't, you know, come back on his track. It was saying, but he come back, and I'm standing there with my gun over here, and I'm like grabbing my gun, trying to pull it over like this, and going slow, you know, like, and all of a sudden he turned, whirled, and I shot at him going through the firs, you know. It's firs down by the river, and then it went up on the gorge, and I shot at him all through it, you know, but needed your peep sight. Well, needed Hal to shoot it, I guess. You know, but he's a big bugger. That's the only one that I might have tracked twice, you know, like, because same area, I tracked another one, and I was going to follow him no matter what. And when you're on a gorge, it's miserable because they go up and down, around.
Constantly.
And if they don't like what you're doing, they'll just swim that river and they're gone.
Yep.
You know, it's like you just can't get them. You know, or you can if you're Rick, swim the river. You know, I watched that video. Is that Bad Lee, the guy that walked into the river?
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, I've never done that.
I have.
I'd go in my underwear. You know, you wouldn't video it because I had once.
It'd be a good video.
I have Gordon. Gordon shoots him across the river, and he'll wade across in the underwear and go grab him. I'm like, I don't know. Unless it's giant. Oh yeah, he had to.
Then you took your wife out then last season too.
Oh my God, yeah. Yep. She's a giant. That's not far from here. You know, like
all these spots are not far from here. He said.
Well, I say that just because you know, not far is relative, I guess.
Yeah,
it's like I was in my favorite countries back when you get in where they were going to put the power lines and all that. I remember way back when Hal was scoring a deer horn. He liked. I just shot a 6-point, and both of them have been in Longtime. And Hal's like, where did you exactly? And who owns that land? Because it's Dome Tower. And I got him the address and all this stuff. I didn't realize he was going to go in there and shoot everything. But, I should have realized that. But
Gave it up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I went in with I can't remember the guy that ran the railroad there, but I used to work in there and go and see Earl Very, another one of my cookie spots. I'd stop and have cookies or something. you know Earl Very? I don't know if you knew him in the Skinner. He had the house in there.
You took me there one time.
I did. His girlfriend, they would make molasses cookies or something. I'd be had to go there.
Yeah.
First time I thought the railroad, I thought they were littering. They were throwing his mail out. I was like, oh my God, I got to give that train a ticket. He goes, oh, there's his mail, because he's a retired.
No kidding, yeah.
He was a retired railroad man. He had a place over in Mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was funny. Anyways, but we hunted in there, and I walked from Longtime. I brought you in. Remember, we went down in back then you used to drive down through the stream and then get into, I don't know what was wrong with me, but something wrong with me. I decided I was going to walk up that railroad bed and go up hunting. I kept looking at it. It was a Caswell Mountain. I can't remember. It was a big mountain. There's a big hill right there.
Yeah.
I decided I was going to walk from that up to there to go hunting. I don't know why it came over me. Because I was like, because back then there's no road. The road just did a loop and it hadn't gone across that piece on the other side. I used to go in there. Believe it or not, I brought a guy his mother was a school teacher in there. Went in there with Harry Huey when he was in the nursing home, and they let me, I don't know if you knew Carol Huey. This would be his uncle. This Harry Huey used to be a wood cruiser and buyer for Quimby Veneer, but he'd been there when Beaudry's had cut down and all that. Country hadn't been cut. He goes, it had never been cut because there'd been a forest fire. All that softwood that was in there hadn't been cut. And I was like, really? So I was like, he gave me the history of a lot of stuff up there, and it's kind of neat. So he was 90-something years old, and I took him out of the nursing home, and they let him go with me,
No kidding.
And I brought him, I used to take Bob Wag, and pissed my truck some, but he drank so much, but I mean, way back, but this Harry was like, he knew that country from whack in the the early 1900s and stuff. His mother was a teacher in there, and they had Earl actually had pictures of all when Skinner was a town. It was kind of cool.
That's very cool.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, I remember I took a pond. I got the wrong pond. We flew over a pond, and I'd seen trout, and I brought Hal to, Elaine Pond, is a mud hole. I thought it was the right one, because I didn't have a map with me when we flew, and I was like, Jace, it's beautiful, Hal, there's all kinds of fish, and we went in, and he goes, you sure? You had a float tube, remember?
Yeah, lumped a float tube all the way in there. It was about a mile down the railroad, and then about a half a mile through the woods.
I look quite a guy, didn't Chubs or something. I don't know what was in there, but anyways.
There weren't trout.
I don't know why we're talking trout. This is a deer thing, Hal. Let's talk deer.
We started off about 10 minutes ago with the story of your wife's deer last year. So
I don't know. That one, I came close to grabbing her gun. I can't say that online here, because it was hard. We went in, and it's a spot I look for antlers, for moose antlers, and I put out a trail cam. I don't use them very often, but I put them out for the moose some places, I wanted to see what was there. And I went up there, and there's all kinds of deer there is what it was. So I was like, holy cow, it's a deer trail. And I was like, and there's one monstrous buck. I was like, one track in there that was nice, and I said, "You want to go for a walk?" And it's touch or go. She likes to hunt, but not like I do. And I have to remember that when you go with somebody, it's like guiding. Not everybody wants to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But we got up, and there's a big bowl goes up and around. They'd cut it, and his spot is just calling my name to look at. I was like, and I had a shotgun. I wasn't. Any of you wardens listening, I was actually going to bird hunt. So, and she had a 7mm 08. That's her gun's a little youth model. I Couldn't use it if I wanted. But anyways, we got up and we got up on the. I like to hunt up high and look low, and just got up to where I thought it looked nice, and it was beautiful woods, just beautiful, beautiful. And then I got into a spot where I was above the old cuts where I look for antlers, and I got past that, and I was just walking through still some old growth until I got to where their cut was, and you could look down over this big cut, maybe probably 20 or 30 acres total, because it goes one way and then it goes the other way. Yep. And I just kept going, and she's just I could tell she's nearly done. I said, well, we got to the corner where we could look up one cut and down the other cut, and I was like, well, let's sit here for a little bit and see what happened. Hadn't been there 2 minutes, and a buck chasing a doe come all the way across the cut in front of him. I'm sitting there like, holy cow, get ready, Sal, get ready. I wanted to, I didn't want to grab the gun, but I mean,
but you did.
In the old days, I mean, that's the type of shot even a Garnett can make. Yeah. I mean, it was in the open. It was, he was chasing her, but she stopped where the cut turned. She stopped here, and there's an island of trees, and he stopped in them. And where I was, I would have tried to shot. I was like, Sally, just see if you can pick out his body in there. Just because he's giant. I said, if not, maybe she'll go in in the.
How far away?
75 yards.
Oh, nice.
It's easy shot, but it wasn't easy for me. I mean, I don't practice enough with her. We go out and. Everything we practice is 50 yards, or I don't have. She's not a marksman. Neither am I to teach her. So but I mean, all the deer I usually shoot are fairly close. So 100 yards or so, and she shot it. She's a great shot at 100 yards, but she doesn't shoot running deer. I've never practiced with her. She's never shot anything but targets and freehand. She does good freehand, does good. I had her leaning on the tree, and she's not the type to want to wound something. So she's not. Right. She's looking for the perfect shot, whereas Garnett takes a shot. That's been always my theory after Ronnie showed me. And this one wasn't offering her the right shot, I guess, because the doe ran down over the hill and he ran right out of the other side of it. And we never see him again, but he was giant, everything about him. I mean, it might have been an 8 or 10. It was just a regular rack, but it was a big set of horns on it. Yeah. And when I looked at our trail cam, I'm pretty sure that's the one, because you could see him. I didn't have a good picture of the deer. It was hind two for some reason, looking away, but I could see horns sticking out. It was a big deer, he was just big all over. He jiggled when he ran. I don't usually get to watch that because I'm not watching. I'm well, it's like that. Like I was telling you when I guided for Hal, I didn't bring guns once. Well, more than once. For a while there, I didn't lug a gun with me because I didn't want to be, shooting anything. For
didn't want to be tempted.
Didn't want to be tempted. And I had one spot in Forsyth behind McKinney Pond. Their old road wasn't across there, and there's some nubs. Yep. And there's a little wet run. I every time I went in there, I'd jump deer, and they'd all go up across this hardwood, and then up by this nub. And I was like, I'll just have that guy go up in that nub, and I'll go through that wet run, and I'll jump him, and we'll be done. Because his wife, I jumped deer so often in there, and they're nice ones too. But I went in like that, and I didn't jump any deer. I'm going slow as if I'm hunting, walking in. I wanted them to, I didn't want to do anything different than I normally would. And all of a sudden I hear and I hear tinkling. I was like, what the heck is that noise? This deer's coming at me. It's giant. I mean, now I'm getting goosebumps because I was like this. I'm standing there and I'm like, holy cow, there he is. And I wanted it for my sport. But I had no gun, I'm like this, and I kept letting him come closer. He didn't know I was there, and I'm standing next to this person. I clapped my hands, and I was like, I'm going to drive him out. I've never seen a deer be scared, so I felt bad for him, because his nose flared. I mean, that's how close I was, and his eyes went, and he swung around, and he hit a tree, and he fell down. And I walked, and I kid you not, that when I said I've been this close to a deer, I was that close to a giant deer. I could have jumped on it and stabbed it to death. I was like this, and then it ran out, and I'm like, where's the shot? Where's the shot? What's happening? I didn't realize this kid, when I'd send him up into the notch, he's from down in Pennsylvania. It's like, he shot a bear that week. I remember that, yeah. Yeah, he done shot me a bear, Garnett. But he's like, this guy is like, unbelievable shot. He told him, because I shot it in the head. I go, what you doing shooting this bear in the head? We're getting off the story again. Yeah. But
That's all right. Let it roll, Garnett.
Yeah, but anyways, I'll tell you that after. But anyways, he jumped the deer. Like he went up there and he's like, well, I see it running. And I was like, why didn't you, he go, where'd it go? And he went down through that hardwood. He didn't even run over. Where he jumped it and where he had it was close. I'm like, he goes, well, where I'm from, if you didn't run, I was like, I always run. Unless you're worried and take hunter safety, I suppose. I should think about that. Don't run, kids. I didn't take hunter safety, honestly, before that. But anyways, he jumped the deer to me. And so when I jumped it out, it hit the edge of that hardwood and went right straight. He knew he was up there, and the buck was smart enough by the time. But I'd been 2 feet from a giant deer. He was giant.
You never saw him again that year, huh?
Nope. Oh, no, I hunted in there. I hunted in Forsyth. I remember taking you when you were looking for a tent spot in there once. Before they put we might have went up High Chaparral too, but they hadn't put in any of the camps and stuff they'd done now.
Oh, yeah, it was wild country.
Oh, my God, did I shoot a whomper in there. I shot a big one in there, and I did some Canadian hunting. I don't know if it wasn't Canadian hunting. I shot, everybody knows the problems with the border. But up there is like, that's one where I'd actually had, I tracked him after I wounded him. So did that count? I know what it was. I was working my way towards the border. I didn't realize it was that close to the border.
Before or after 9/11?
No, this is before.
Okay, it was all good then.
Yeah. I mean, everything I did was before that. Up in there, I predated. Yeah. I don't know when Hal hadn't written a book. He's just shooting deer. He'd go out and like I said, he's the only one that I knew that would rather not take a deer than take one that's substandard to what he wanted.
Yeah.
So I learned from that. That's something I've learned from. So.
Yeah. So you were Canadian hunting, and
I wasn't Canadian hunting. I went up there and there's baits. How Rick knows. It was like they put these baits out for moose and stuff along the border.
Yeah, on the border.
Yep. They put salt licks and all this stuff. Well, I got up there and I started seeing deer sign. I'm like, oh my God, the deer are here. I couldn't. There's deer, and I'm like, I started slowing down hunting. And then I just in softwoods, and it was early in the morning, and I could just, all of a sudden I see him going with horns like that. I'm like, oh, saying like that, and I dropped down, and it's like he stepped in open, and I let him have it. Well, my shooting was off. I don't know.
I don't know.
I hit him a little bit further back, and he took off, and I went up, and I didn't realize I was that close to the border. If I had, I wouldn't even started after him at all. I went up there and there's blood and hair, and I'm like, good time.
Yeah.
The first thing I did is I went,
Years ago, they didn't keep the border cut as much as they do now, and sometimes you'd get up near it and you didn't even know you were near it.
Well, this side hadn't been cut at all. I was in big wood. I was looking out through it, and it's like a park. Where I shot this deer, part of it was hardwood. If you were in hardwoods, you could look out through it, and the softwoods was this was grown in softwood, so it was twilighty. Early in the morning, I could see him come through, and there's snow, and I hit him, and I went. And the next thing, I jumped him out of his bed, and I had my rifle. And I was like, I did the wrong thing. I jumped him out of his bed, and I thought I'd wait a little bit, and I went and jumped him out of another bed, and all of a sudden it's because he's hurting, but he wasn't dying. It's like I wanted, all of a sudden I'm at the border, and I stood there. I kid you not. I stand next to one of them monuments. So there's no doubt what I was standing looking at. I was there next to a big concrete monument. I was like granite, the deer, and I was going, boys, oh boys. And I stood there for quite a while, and I stood there, and I stood there, and I stood there. I looked, and I was like, And I was like, I wonder how far it would be for roads here, because like I was trying to picture Mechanic, and I knew that country a little bit because I've been over there, but I was like, I don't know what's there. And I was like, and all of a sudden I just couldn't take it because he was a good buck. And I went right across, and I was like, screw it. I was going fast, and I was like, and I got there, and I see him. I was really lucky on this because he took a minute for him. He's trying to get out of his bed. He would have went probably again.
Yeah.
But I got him just as he started, and then I was like, oh, I'm done hunting in Canada. And I ran my gun back to the border, like that, and I knew that I was gonna get the hell out of there. So I stripped down. And I didn't have orange and nothing. I just ran down there and I dragged till I was almost throwing up. Because I didn't gut. I just dragged and dragged and dragged because I knew, if I could get to my side, it'd be like the Canadian. Well, that's how the Canadians are when you're there. They do the same thing. They hunt all.
Well, especially before 9/11, in my opinion, that's your obligation. You wound a deer like that.
I wanted him. I wanted him,
yeah.
and I was near 69 Mountain. Hal knows the country in there, but I could see that off in the distance.
Canadians used to shoot moose on the border back then all the time, and they'd go over to Maine and they'd drag them all back.
Oh, yeah. That's what those were moose booths all along there.
Oh, yeah.
We had hot dogs
Yeah.
for your dad when the Comet was coming.
Yeah.
Were you there when you had to have been there? Probably.
Yeah.
We were eating hot dogs up in the, I call them moose booth. They're stands. We were
Condos.
Yeah. They'd sit there, but I was near one of them, and I got it onto my side, and then I realized I was a long ways from that road I started on. And I was like, and I was on the border, and I was like, oh my God, this is bad. Maybe I didn't want. Maybe I should have dragged it to a Canadian road, give it to somebody from Quebec or something. Because I started from there, and I'm the kid you not. It's like 9:30 in the morning. And I dragged, and I was just to the point where my legs were locking up. I was like, I lugged my jacket and my guns and stuff out front. I was like going, oh my God, I don't know if I can keep going. I even tied his horns up. I don't know if you do this, but sometimes you tied his feet up there because I kept getting hung up and stuff when I started. And then I got into open stuff, but I go downhill. A couple times I almost cried because I go uphill, and I also let go of him, and he slide back. It was all snow, and I'd be like, no.
How much did he weigh?
Oh, he's over 200. I don't remember, but I just I come out and I'm getting bad like that. I watched that Northwoods hunting show. I'm getting on another tangent, but Chris Simmons, guy I know, game warden. But he's no, we're friends. I like Chris. But I watched the thing, and he helped me. Just like watching Hal saying he's like. How would you rather shoot the deer he wants? I listened to him talking, and he goes, I can name every deer I shot. And I sat there, and I'm watching that show, and I started to go through my numbers, and I realized I got a problem. Not my numbers, but I mean, everybody remembers their first deer and your biggest deer and your, fastest shot and the one, but there's some that, I've been to places, and I'm going, is that, but. This one I was dragging, and you'll know.
Scrambled.
Yeah, something there. I'm sure they're in. I'm sure they're in there. And it's like something there. I'd like to think, but it doesn't matter. I come out to I finally come out on the whole road about 2 miles from my truck.
Holy!
And believe it or not, when I come out on the road, my legs was just locking up. Chester Purnet's there having coffee with another guy, and I dragged out, and I was like this, and I was like, oh God. I was like that, and he's like I love Chester. It was like I took him bird hunting. I did a lot of stuff with old people up there when I there. I give him, but anyways, he give me. He's like what I wouldn't have done to have that buck. I said, you see me a half hour ago, you would have had it. We'd swap the tag off it, and you would take it. But I was like, I was just dying.
Yeah.
We loaded it in. I'm driving out. I had to get out of my truck like 3 or 4 times because my legs kept. I had to clutch, and I was like, my leg would just lock up. I just like, oh my God, stand out on the side of the road like an idiot, just standing there jumping around because I dragged.
One of them you wish you hadn't shot.
Oh my God, absolutely. But I mean, my uncle Gordon. You shoot a deer, we'll get it out. Doesn't matter where we go. We're gonna do it. My uncles, they meant it. And they shot a lot of deer and they meant it. So I was like, my father hated me doing this because sometimes he'd go with me to go fetch him, and a couple times we went in and he's like this. He goes, even he complained about the 4-wheeler ride.
That's the easy part.
I was like, Dad, you don't know what I done. Because some of these places in here is steep, you're not supposed to have.
My father give me hell sometimes. What the hell are you doing back in here?
My father would, he'd take it, and I'd be like, back then it was like in the same with the snowmobile. I had one that I had to leave. I left him. I just can't do it. I can't keep going. It was like 2 feet of snow, and I did all I could to get him out, and I was like late. I had one time, and I had 4 people, and they got so mad at me. Because I have a problem, I shot, and that was a whomper. That's the one you might have seen I think I saw you and Steve at that mast show. It was the 4th, it's a big rack, I got it at the mast board. It was the 4th biggest actually that year, but I shot it, and it was just a bad spot. I don't know. I went and I dragged till 4:30. And I was like, wow, I got to get out of here. It's so far, and then I went and got somebody, and the guys I got were drinkers, They were all of them. But one was Harry Wilson. He caretaked in the Spencer.
Yeah.
I knew Harry.
Unbelievable good
my
good
God,
guy.
he's a hell of a guy.
He went with me to help me get it, and him and I don't remember, there's a couple other people, but we were...
I shot a cat over behind Harry's house over in where
Dixmont?
he lives in Dixmont.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I shot a...
Yeah. Ran into him over there that day.
Oh, yeah.
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 He was always just a wicked good guy. He had more stories and jokes than anybody I ever know.
He's the best shot I've ever seen.
Really?
I come off Spencer into Hardscrabble once, and I was with my cousin, Junior Cuddy. We were drinking. It was so bad that I was back when I was a forest ranger. I was standing there at the lodge. We were at the lodge, and I was wearing my forestry jacket, and these guys all thought it was words. I'm like, dig them licenses out. Show me them fish. Oh, a good one. Well, I'll let it go. Go on. We're laughing because we were saying there, we were getting a kick out of it. But I remember I was like that, and I go, who's the jerk? Well, I said the asshole. We don't have to. I know this shouldn't doesn't make the cut now, but
Oh no, we leave it. You just let it rip, man.
well, we were there, and there's a bait. There's a bait probably 300 yards out. I was like this. I go, why would you put bait that far? What are you going to do with a coyote come out there? You never hit it. And there's a there's a raven or something out there. He comes out with his 270, pulls his glasses up on top of his head, goes like that, shoots this bird from. I was like, wow. Take it back. Oh yeah, well yeah. We went down. They built Falcon. My uncle Ronnie guided in there.
Yeah.
I used to go in there smelting with them. I would never want to go smelting with them again because we got too many. But
I see a pattern here.
no, well, it's like the hard part is when you're scooping, you want to it's hard to want to stop if they're going. Hal and I went to remember Duncan there, and we got our limit pretty quick.
Yeah.
But had that happen, but Ronnie was like, I don't know, 5-gallon buckets or something. Jeez.
Ronnie
and then
didn't have a
cleaning.
limit.
I don't know if you've ever cleaned smelts like that, but there's a point where it's like, ooh, I don't. I was at the point where I was gonna be like them guys that just snap the heads off. And my grandfather's like, nope, you're cleaning them. You brought them back here. And I'd eat biscuits. My grandmother would make biscuits when we had them. And I eat them till I was sick, really.
Platters of smelts, yeah.
Oh, just do it to keep me cleaning, probably. But I was like, that Spencer was unbelievable for smelts. Wicked.
Yeah.
Same with Grace Pond.
Yeah.
Probably did them. There used to be big smelts there, like the ones here.
Yeah. Yeah, big ones.
I went Dwayne Ashe when I worked with him a little bit. And, yeah. We're talking smelts again. We'll go back to
No, that's all right.
The pattern I'm getting out of this is
my Uncle Ronnie was like
a bad influence on you.
Well, no,
No.
My Uncle Ronnie taught me everything. I mean, like the deer, the game, they're all happy he's gone. But I'm like, my Uncle Ronnie is the only guy I know. I watch him cast a river. I've never seen any, like, if you watch River Runs Through It, my Uncle Ronnie's the River Runs Through It bad guy, like the one that had all the problems because he could have been anything he wanted, but he got into drugs and alcohol,
Yep.
If it hadn't been for that, he'd have been, because, like, he could stand there and people make fun of his guns or his rod or whatever he's out there because he just didn't care about anything.
Yep.
And he'd have, like, probably a $40 fly rod, and he could cast that better than, if you showed up with a Norvis, and he'd stand there and, like, I'd go out and wade, and I'm not going to get my feet wet. He'd stand there and he'd cast across the, if he didn't matter if you're the ball field or wherever, he'd cast that whole pool. When I was a kid, I used to go into Grand Falls with him before they wrecked it with the people writing about it, and didn't wreck it. People need to find out about it. Kind of like what you write in your books, But I mean, this is free country. I mean, that's why my land, like my son-in-law, I'd never post anything because I've hunted everything. I don't own the deer, So that's how I feel about them. So, but it was like, he'd go out and he taught. My Uncle Gordon the same way. My Uncle Gordon, like, they go out there, didn't care what they had. They'd make it look better than what I was doing. So I watched them.
It's funny because the only Gordon, as long as I've ever known him, he's always there at the store. Always at the store, When the heck
He's
did you
there.
ever find time to go out in the woods?
No, you notice he's there right at daylight in the morning.
And then he's gone.
And you go back at 8:30, he's gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, always.
My whole life, he's always took the hunting season off. He used to trap, and then if he taught fishing, he'd go in the evenings, and he'd always go to ponds, fishing the ponds. Fished the pond after he didn't troll. Like Ronnie would troll. Ronnie would do, in spring he'd troll, but he'd go down where you troll. But I trolled that way back when I was little with my Uncle Ronnie.
I learned that from Billy McKay.
Billy's a great friend of mine.
Yeah.
A great friend. We hunted a lot with Billy.
Yeah.
We used to fly with him a lot, and we got to play.
Great guy.
I saw there was a video a couple years ago that Brandon put out. It was Gordon going across. I think he was going across Moxie.
Oh, with a canoe.
Yeah, and that was pretty impressive.
My uncle,
because Gordon's getting a little bit older now, but boy, he could handle that boat like a boss.
If you ever watch, he won him and Alan York won the Nationals, and he was offered to be in the Olympics way back, but he didn't. Yeah, but you have to have a lot of money to really be in the Olympics, not work. And my family didn't have a lot of money, so he wasn't in the Olympics. But they come in second in the Nationals. Him and Alan York with a half canoe once.
Half a canoe.
Half a canoe. They had broke it and split it, and that river. If you ever go through, it's got a lot of vertical stuff. I got a raft this year, a rowing frame. Maybe you guys want to go fishing. I'm going to take Gordon. Gordon's got gout. Been having gout and stuff like that, so he can't walk as much. He's quite a caster, so we're going to go in there and do some of that.
That sounds like a blast.
Yeah, I think we're going to get some. I don't care if we do. I like to watch it. I'm at the point now where it's fun to watch other people do. So
it's more fun
Gordon showed me as much when I was a kid. You got to give him a hard time. If you ever go bird hunting with him, he'll let you shoot birds. But it comes deer now. It's like he gets first time. Just so you know. If you go bird hunting with him, he's gonna give you a chance. But it comes deer hunting, he's not. In the old days, he'd be like yours, but. And when he shoots, like I called his gun lightning. He goes, he shot one once in front of me, and it just dead. I'm like, sometimes they don't do that with me. Gordon's
he gets cinched up and tipped over.
Oh yeah, Gordon's like I said, he knows his stuff. And my cousin Brian, when they shoot, if he's shooting, there's something happening. Whenever the three of us hunt together, there's always something happening. I don't know what it is. You try to get another person involved or more, and like Gordon didn't care how three of us, three guys working together, like my cousin Brian. When it's not driving, we go in. And sometimes we're hunting the same direction. Right. We're hunting. If we jump something and do something, just it seems like there's action. Gordon knows where deer are, and he'll take,
Been there his whole life.
Been there his whole life, and like I said, if you do a 20-mile square around, I mean, we went over and went to where your camp was built is. That's like because he didn't realize he's getting firewood. He has all these guys, his permit, and the woodcutters always tell him where they're getting wood, and they'll save some out for him, pull it out, and I'm like, we're 10 minutes from the 15. let's go over. And I said, and he goes, what are you talking about? I said, we're almost over to Rockwood.
Right.
I was like this. I said, let's shoot out. And I was like that. And
Hey,
I
he told
was
me you
like,
guys went over to my camp.
Yeah, I went over and I was like this, and I knew from your pictures whereabouts. I mean, that used to be part of our patrol unit. So I went over and I went down and I was like, boy, you call it Abilene, or whatever it was. That was a giveaway.
Yeah, it was.
And we thought we were looking at you with like cameras or something. We were hoping you had cameras.
No, I didn't.
We waved all the way in. I was like this. I was waving. I go, he's going to get a kick out of this. Or we're like, he won't know who in the hell's in his yard.
Yeah.
Like that, and then wave all the way out, and there's nothing there. So wasted effort.
It's good practice.
We practice it. So now you got to say, just in case there aren't, there's tons of surveillance over there.
Yeah.
I've been robbed before, so I have surveillance everywhere as people.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I do have a camera now.
I'll wave.
Gordon, I'll send you back a picture.
But the funny thing, the reason I'm saying that is Gordon, he's like, I haven't been over here for 30 years. I was like, you live 20 miles
right.
from Rockwood. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nope. He hadn't been there forever, like that. And he's like, so I brought him over, and I was like, I don't know. I'm a traveling man. I hunt. I like to hunt where, like, for me, I look at places and I just say, I know where I'd like to hunt on that. If I was driving by a ridge or something.
Yeah, right.
And if I suddenly get the urge when I was
I haven't
working,
hunted. I've never hunted even a minute over there.
No.
I
You're going to like it because I brought people over. You had a guy named Chris, right? You're going to like it. There's good deer over there. There was. I mean, I'm saying good deer. We're talking 30 years ago, right, man? It was a long time ago when I was there. But I
just,
went.
It takes you a while to learn an area, and it's hard to leave an area
You're gonna find some over there, Blue Ridge and all that. And what's that? Chris, wasn't it? That guy did from me. And I went over with him once. He's like, we're gonna go over here. We want to bring you a sport. And I went with him. And there was a lot of deer where we went. It was good hunting. You go down south of there, down the backside of Squaw. There used to be a big deer yard on that side too. Get the north end of Indian Pond, Trout Pond, and all that.
Yeah.
Used to be is the key word.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've killed all the deer yards.
Yep.
When I first started,
The deer yard's in Rockwood now.
right in town.
They feed them all. They're all right there.
Yeah, Mike Favreau used to feed them right at his place way back when when I was there. He had all those. I don't know if Mike's around there or not.
No, he's moved down. He's retired and moved down somewhere.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, he had a barn. Used to put all his moose up on that, but they fed deer right there even then, I think. So.
Yeah.
Boy, the deer are doing good this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everyone I talk to has just been seeing a lot of deer
Snow's
every
gone
time I go
early.
out.
Yeah, we had the snow left early, and we didn't have a ton of snow. So.
Even up here, because I went in to go look for antlers, and I was waiting to see if I was going to pull some.
You can tell that coyotes are starving, especially down my way, because I got a friend of mine lives in town, Joe Mosier, and he's got all the night scopes and all the latest, greatest gear, and he's killed 11 since this spring out of my pit.
Wow.
Yeah, 11 just on a bait pile. And usually they're not coming to bait this time of year.
Wow.
But he said that place is like a magnet. So I don't think they really killed a lot of deer this winter.
I went out yesterday. I went down into my property, and we had put a bait pile out this winter. There was 3 deer all together stacked up and a beaver. There is nothing left there.
Yeah.
Every bone, everything is gone.
Yeah.
Like they drug everything off from there.
Yeah, we better get it all away from this spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys, this area here, I mean, I see all the pictures, Hal's, all the ones they shoot up there, and all the ones you've shot with your dogs, and 15 mile with their baits and their dogs. They've plenty of coyotes getting killed, and the ones that coming into the deer yards are close to where deer are the ones you want, the big ones.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those little dogs and stuff. I've shot a few, but nothing like you.
Yeah, we definitely help the deer. With all the coyotes.
If you go anything you get just 30 or 40 pounds and is near a deer yard is a problem. So Hal and I saved a deer. You ever tell them that story?
Nope, I don't think so.
Rodney Small showed up at his place. I don't know what I was doing there. And they come on.
Probably just having coffee.
Whatever. Or something. It wasn't hunting season. It was ice. It was like early ice.
You probably came for breakfast.
Might have. Yeah, probably that's it. Yeah. Debbie was making breakfast. Yeah. But anyways, Rodney showed up, and wasn't anything bad, but he's like, they had a deer out there, and it's like, didn't know if it splayed or not, but Hal and Rodney and I got out there and grabbed hold of this nice buck.
It was out on the lake.
Out on the lake, and we were quite a ways out, and Hal and Rodney grabbed the front legs, and they said, grab the hind legs. Holy cow, there's a big difference. They're like dragging this deer, pulled me up next to them, and then back. And I was like that, and I didn't dare let go. I was like this, and we dragged it to the shore. He stood there for a second, man. But I was like, that didn't go bad. My hands were freezing. They take turns dragging on the front. My hands were like freezing to death because I kept them out and hanging on to that hind legs. I was like,
didn't dare let go.
I didn't dare let go because he pulled me up next. I remember that. It was all glare ice. You couldn't even. We went over, and I was like, so I did a good thing. I saved a deer. I was like, there aren't many big wood buck hunters that can say they saved a deer, but Hal and I did.
Yeah.
Rescued it.
Yeah.
Off the ice.
Yeah.
Cool.
I took a ride in remote camp the other day, and between going in and back, we saw 27 deer.
Wow.
Yeah, that's odd.
Wow.
I
That's
think
awesome.
Part of it was they were, I think, still heading back.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Back
Coming
out
back from Canada and over the other side.
Yeah, coming out of the... Well, because part of it's not... A lot of them deer didn't even yard this year. They just stayed out away in these different patches, so they were just getting out in those hardwoods and stuff.
An Indian land in there. There's a spot they used to stay a little bit in the winter because I found some antlers there once. But
You told me about that.
and then another one, and you said you'd never seen that they stay there, but
Nope. They probably don't now because they've cut it all.
got it. Yeah. Well, and I had one time I remember in the I don't know. I think I told you in Beaver Pond before they had any road or stocked it or anything up in there behind Little Turner. I remember going up in there and I see a buck track coming out in like 2 or 3 spots there, and he stayed in. There wasn't a deer yard, but he stayed in there, and I found an antler by the pond.
Yeah.
And there's one buck stayed into that pond.
Yeah.
In the wintertime.
They do that a lot.
They do that, yeah.
I
Especially
see
those real big
you
ones.
see 2 or 3 tracks coming out, and he'd go off ways. I was like, what the hell is a deer track doing here? And the same thing, I remember Cedar Pond in there, where you come in. I found they had quite a few deer stayed in that, but then Steve started doing some of them checkerboards up in there, and I don't think that helped them. I don't know.
Not at all.
That's kind of, yeah. There's a lot of deer along the river down there. Even then. So they stayed in there.
So what was that story you were telling us about that climbing tree stand?
Oh, I'm not telling that one.
I think you got it.
I don't know. I don't use climbing. I'll tell you, it's not. This one. If you guys are trying, you guys probably won't be selling many climbing tree stands here. If I hear my story, but I had, I don't know. Way back, I decided when I'm an opportunist when it comes to hunting. I'll take a canoe, I'll ride, and if I see one out of a truck, I get out and, like Hal said, and shoot it. And if it's condition, I hunt the conditions, I hunt whatever. If it's crunchy, I just soon sit and listen for a deer come in and hear them run off every time. But I put that stand out. I bought one of them climbing stands, and it's back when they were a lot cheaper looking than the ones they have now. They're hooked together and stuff. Mine had it was just metal with the grippers on it. And the others had the seat and had place for your feet. And they probably had safety stuff on it that I threw out or something. I don't remember. Because I remember I had a seat you could face one direction or another. You had a choice on it. And I bolted it on, I think facing towards the tree. I don't remember what I did, but I know I only used this thing once. 'Cause I put it up in this big popple. It had been an ice storm, and I was and it turned all cold and crunchy. And I was like, I'm never going to walk up on nothing in this, So I found a deer trail that's near it, and I was like, this big, smooth bark popple was big, so I was like, I can get way the heck up there and be able to look all over this country. And I started climbing up it, and, It was going good. I went all the way up there, and I was like, "Oh, this is good." Put my gun down, and then I had the gun. That's right, I had the gun towards the tree. So I had the seat the other way, and I sat up on that seat, and I had to take your feet out of the climbing part.
Yep.
I took the feet out of the climbing part, turned around, and I was about to put my feet back down, and I hear ka-ching, 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 like that. And I looked down, and I was like, I'm not kidding. I was probably like 30 feet up. I was like, oh my God. Because as a tree goes up, it gets smaller, and that's what the problem was. And I hadn't. You're supposed to probably tighten them up. I don't know. I hadn't. It's kind of starting to tip. And I just made a big mistake. I don't know, because that thing went all the way down to like probably 6 feet from the bottom. I was like this, and I go, oh my no. And I was like this, and I sat there for like an hour thinking. Then I was like, I don't give a crap if I get a deer because I'm going to die here. There's nobody knows. I've got a big problem not telling anybody exactly what I'm doing. Even now, my wife gets super worried because I might say, yeah, I'm going over by Joe Cruzy's, and I could be 20 miles from here. By my truck and then wherever, who the hell knows where I'm going? I don't know, and they know they're under strict rules since way back. No matter what, you don't call anybody come get a Garnett. He dies in the woods. Nobody's coming to look for me. Gordon's come look for me a couple times, but I'm not gonna. I don't need anybody come get me.
Right.
She's like, what if something happened to you? I'm like, I don't care, leave me. There's a Chester. Remember Chester Weymouth who said the Redemption Center? Yeah. Yeah. He had a perfect story, and I've always wanted to be buried like that, but it's not buried actually. It's left out kind of. But it was like we're going back to the tree. I was in the tree, decided I was gonna, couldn't stand it anymore. See, I'm getting better now, Joe. Yeah. I'm going back to my original story. I've got too many stories tied up in here. But I decided I had to risk my life and get the hell out of that tree. Put my gun across behind me. I was leaned out, and I was like this. I had to go into my pits, wrap my legs around that tree, and I was going, this somehow, there's all ice. As a purple, probably a quarter inch of ice, and I was going, you're about to die. Those guys that have, those guys that broke their backs out and stand. Yeah. I'm like, this is how that happened, isn't it? I get one hand around it, and I got the other, and that ice, I just went down 50 miles an hour, it felt like. Hit that stand, and I was I come down and hit the ground. I was so happy I was alive. And then I was like this, and I was at the time, I had to drive all the way out with no gun, thinking I was probably now I'll see a dozen deer.
Left your gun
whatever. I had a shotgun birdshot or something. I was drove all the way out, and I was left my gun up in the tree. I was like, boy, this is so stupid. This is and I was trying to figure out if I could climb up it with 1 foot, and go into it. I'm it was all ice. I couldn't do it. Right. I was I'm gonna cause a problem here. So I had to get a ladder, walk into the woods to go get my gun. It looked so stupid. I went and put a ladder up and climbed up and got my gun. I was hey. I went and I gave that stand away right after. I was like this. I said, here you go. It cost me a couple $100 wherever. It's yours. I don't want it. I'm never gonna hunt in one again. Nope. Never did either. Nope. Now those new climbers, you look at them. I got friends.
That was a learning curve.
They got those loungers, and they up there. I'm like, I'd just be asleep, something probably my luck. So no sense.
No,
I'm more uncomfortable you are, than better odds. I think the deer feel sorry for you. Deer gods, Yeah.
I think there is some truth to that.
I make myself. I figure the more you're suffering, the better chance.
Better chance, yeah.
Paying the price, right?
Yeah.
I've paid the price. That's probably why I've been lucky. Been lucky.
Yeah. Did you have any more housekeeping stuff? There was a few things, and I only say that because I think this one's going to turn into a two-parter. How long do you think we've been doing this?
I don't know, a couple hours.
Oh yeah.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, but they won't mind.
Oh no, I know.
No,
well, the thing is, we can't do a second one today.
They don't know me.
I said that we can't do a second one today, but we can decide that.
Yeah, you're interrupting us now.
Just trying to do my job, Al. Just trying to do my job.
They'll probably hang up on you guys once they realize it's me talking. If it's a radio or whatever, how they listening to it?
Yeah, you might be surprised.
They might be like, who in the hell's this dude?
I think they're going to go, we got to get him back.
Yeah. I'm surprised Hal hasn't got you to commit to guiding this year yet.
No, I'm
working
a better
on it.
guide than I am a hunter. His wife is my boss. Didn't I say that? I don't know if this is a woke thing, but my boss was the Hershey and had boobs. Remember, I told you her name was Debbie. I'd show up at the lodge. Just was wonderful. I was divorced, and she'd make these meals. Hal would be like, "You should be into the camps. We're having such fun." I'm like, "I bet you are. I'm glad you're there, Hal." I'll mind Pops and I will take care of your yard. We got your truck. We're having so we can go down. I'll tell you, I've never had I don't drink CC and 7, but every day we'd buy each other one. We go like that, so we feel like we're not drinking as much. I'll buy you one, Pop. I got you one for you, Garnett. Then I was single.
Had it figured right out.
I was single, and he was like, like I said, we're a generation apart. So he's a great wingman, but they were all like in the mid 50s. He goes, "She's a beautiful Garnett." If you had enough CC and 7, though, he and I had similar taste. Yeah.
Well. At least you got to come hang out and tell stories this November.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because as good as they are on audio, it's even better when it's in person.
You'll have to come up in the evening.
I thought we were supposed to start videoing the podcast.
It's supposed to when they figure out how to coordinate it. We got it figured out.
Oh, we videoed a couple of them, but they just never got edited.
That'd be cool.
Getting the sound to go with the with the video is the hard part.
That'd be funny. It'd be like it's all silent movies.
Yeah,
I'd be like, "Hey," and that'd be like Peaches, but it'd be.
That's more like one of those old karate movies.
you guys are just jealous.
You know what? I did the same thing.
You gotta start
I've done that. I've done exactly what you said. When I used to cut line with the, I used to do boundary clearance for Steve, and I worked 8 dozen jobs. I think that's how I got divorced the first time. But I used to do, wasn't Peaches, so don't call me Peaches number 2 or Peaches Junior or something. But I do it with pears. So
I don't know how
I always
got
liked those
Peaches, but
I like Peaches. I'd have the mixed fruit or I like the light syrup.
Yeah.
And I'd be out there, drink that, eat that, and take off and complain about the black flies. I used to work for out on the island too there for
Brad.
Out in Brad, and he'd have me clear those trails, and
I remember when you were doing that.
Oh my God, I used to joke because like Sally Mountain, I'd be like, "Yeah, I was climbing Sally's crack today and cutting the trail." Something like that, and I hope that gets cut out, please. But we go up there, and I'd be. I remember, I can't remember the guy that he says Scott's wife. It's her brother. He was out there, and I hadn't finished the trail. There's one trail when we went one way up Sally Mountain, and I went around and made this connector, and I got part way up there, and I hadn't gone all the way around, so there's no trail continuing. Yep. And I was sitting there, and I was getting all mad. All I had was a chainsaw. I didn't have a brush saw when I was doing that. And I kept knocking the chain off, and I was sitting there sharpening. I just remember I put the chain on, and I was sitting there, and black flies all around me sharpening. All of a sudden, this guy comes along, flip-flops, with this girl. And I was like, he goes, "The trail's great, Garnett." He's like, he's one of these unicorn guys. This used to be, I used to go out with some of the girls down here. But anyways, he come by with flip-flops, walked right, I had just ribbons up, and he just walked right into the woods. I was like, "I hope you follow them ribbons, buddy." I went and did that. And, it's funny. You guys talk about butt patches. I got one from before you owned this place. I had used to come down there. I dated a girl here and then another girl. But they wanted some of my butt patches. They wanted to make a bikini out of them. I'm telling you what, That's the best thing I've ever seen done with big butt patches. Because they don't.
That's the first time I've ever heard of that.
No, it was a good one. I had my first 2 on my jacket, but I had these other ones just sitting there. And they're like, they're bikini. Well, I'm single. I was like, let's see it. Holy schmoly. Yeah. I never saw those patches again, but it was worth it.
They went to good use.
Yeah, bikini. Yeah.
All right. Well, we better wrap this up.
Oh, let's keep going.
Hey, Ben, appreciate having you on, Garnett, telling your stories. It'd take us, you could be on every week forever, and we'd never get them all, would we?
No, I had a lot around your camp, so I'm trying to keep it clean for you. So
How about when you and Mike used to live together?
Oh, my God.
No, stop.
If we're going to talk about his lawn mowing one on here, if you're listening, Mike, if you're listening to this, Mike, I can tell them right now that you're fibbing when you're talking. He's a fibber if he tells you he likes to mow lawn. That was the deal. And he didn't. I was like, I remember showing up there, and it was like the lawn. I was like, and his buddies, I was like, mowing the lawn, I was mad. If you ever mow the lawn in double time, that was me. So our man Forrest Gump there, the lawn mowing man that's retired now.
Forrest Gump.
That ain't true. If Mike's telling you he's down mowing the field for everybody, he didn't mow mine. I love him though. You see, he and I hung out. Oh, I've got a great story the next time if you ever want one.
There's going to be a next time. You're coming back.
I've got a couple of Mike stories. I got 3 Mike stories.
Better save them.
Yeah, I'll save them because
Next time we'll get into a few of them stories when you were younger, going down the river and the
I ain't doing those ones.
and all that
No,
stuff.
we ain't doing those ones. We're going. I got Mike stories. This is a hunting show, and we're going to go into some hunting stories with Mike. Guiding stories.
Mike going to be squirming, is he?
Well, I don't know. Hal was around for some of them, and I bet he shook his head, and he'll remember some of it.
Yeah.
He shakes his head a lot.
Ask him if he's ever been a hunter, been lost moose hunting. Okay. I'm leaving it at that.
Yeah.
And Hal knows
I think we've told that story.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we've told that one.
Oh, okay. Well, I was a witness. And
I want to hear the real version now, though.
Yeah, me too. The Garnett version.
I know what happened, and I was there, and I wanted to go home. I was standing there. That was the same week that Debbie flaunted my calling to them guys, because I remember I had to be there all week for the rest of this stuff. Oh, yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
That's when you had my Suburban.
Yep, I didn't. That thing can jump. And Hal's like this. He's like, the 2 times we've written, I got another video story. Both videos that we would have been for Hal, for his sports, just went awry or something. Because one he had Mike try to video. Remember? I don't know if you remember that. And that's another good one because Hal come down and goes, "What the hell are you guys doing?" Remember that?
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
No.
Oh, wait. Well, just if you want to.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
All I remember about the Suburban when you was jumping it was when you came back with it, the exhaust system was in the back.
Yeah. That was I was this close to being the only guide in the world ever to not have a moose. I was like going after passing up 30-something moose. I was like this. I was like when I remember Steve got on the phone on the radio, and he goes, "You better get here." I don't know. I'm like 20 miles from there. I was like, I don't know. Nobody's been that fast on the Rainy Brook Road. That's all I got to say. It's like, or Golden Road. I don't know how many roads I was on, but Al and Steve were like miles from where I thought they were going to be. And I think
you were up by Big Bog. And
I was
all the way down the access road.
I had to come
around to the Norris Road.
He's telling me
all
that
the way up to the end.
Yeah. Once he told me that, I was like, oh my God, it's so far. Like a ball, guys going. I was like, you're that far? I was like, no moose is going to stay there that long. And I was like, jeez, those guys are videoing it, so Hal got to see it all. I was like, he's like, woo, you know, just like he was doing these jumps and oh yeah. I was like,
Any wrinkles in the front fenders?
No.
Wasn't anything like Mike. Mike wrecked the truck when we were there. Remember wasn't it your truck? He shot off into the woods, or it's his truck? I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Hit a ball going like 80.
Oh, that was
somebody.
Stan.
Oh, that was Steve.
Ran off the road.
Yeah,
there
I remember
into the
because we were
bog.
coming down. He's going like so fast, but we were going slow in that, and he's like shot himself into the woods. Yeah, that's right. I thought it was Mike. I was going to blame Mike because we're on Mike's stories. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to, what do you got to ding the bell there again? Subscribe.
Yep. You got nothing else you got to go over?
No. Follow us on Facebook.
Spring Thaw. Spring Thaw was a lot of fun. We
Yeah,
haven't had a podcast since
that's
then.
right.
Yeah.
Spring Thaw was a great event, and we had the was kind of ironic that the winner of the 100th contest we had, 100th podcast contest, ended up he had bought tickets to the Spring Thaw, so that was kind of cool and kind of odd. But so his name is Chip Martin. He's from New York. So
Nice.
congratulations to Chip, and he's coming out. He's booked a week, him and his brother, for Thanksgiving week.
Oh, good.
Nice.
So
Yep.
Is there any openings?
we have we've got openings for American Plan Thanksgiving week. Les Garnett's guiding that week, and we might have a guided hunt.
Yeah, how he does it, Garnett. That's how he works.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe. If we had the right person, maybe.
Can I go with you?
You want to go? We'll go.
Just listen to stories all
It's going
day.
to be expensive.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do tricks, not tracks. So they can come back, and Hal's going to have to unteach you. If Hal's been teaching you how to track, I have to come back and unteach you what I did.
Tricks, not tracks. That's going to be Garnett's book.
Right, tricks, not
There
tracks.
you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually, Rick's, some of his stories, they match similar to like how I've.
Yeah.
He tricks and he figures them out.
Rick's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve.
Oh, that's it. He like the minute he said that thing about falling dough, I was like the first person I heard saying that. I was like, I've done that a lot, because I get used. If I jumped a buck off there, and I'd be like, you know what, some reason he's falling, or
He's
maybe
gonna
I'll
do that
follow
again.
it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll follow those, and then I'm like see where they take me, and whatever happens. And
Yeah.
sometimes I find a buck tracks, and
Yeah, it's just quick thinking, really.
if I have a buck that's
Change-
like messing with me, I try to
Changing
figure
stuff
them out.
up over all the years of
Yeah.
tracking
I know.
and knowledge.
I
you
know I can't do what Hal does, which is running them down every time, and
Wait a minute.
or what
No.
Rick does.
I don't run them down.
Well, I mean,
He used to.
Yeah, my Uncle Ronnie did, and I know Rick has, and I know you have. I know
used
times
to.
that you've had jumped them more than twice. You've got deer that more than twice that you didn't trick. You caught
Yeah.
up with and shot. So
Yeah.
I unless they were wounded, I wasn't right directly
Back in the old
behind them
days,
chasing them like that. I try to, like I said, once I've jumped them twice, I know that I'm in for a brutal time, and I'm not 99% sure that I'm not, unless I got something, unless he's doing something similar each time,
Right.
that shows me what he's, like his trick
Patent.
might be this. Then I'm getting to the point where I'm not going to wade across Dead River. Not going to do what Lee did. I wouldn't do it with my pants on there. I'd be in my underwear or something. So.
I think I asked Lee if he got his feet wet, and he said no.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
I almost thought about bringing waders when
I think he said he had his boots taped up so tight.
No, he uses boot rubbers.
Really?
Cannon
does.
jar rubbers on his
Really?
boot. Yeah, he blouses
Oh, yeah.
them like we did in the Marine
Yeah,
Corps.
yeah.
Rolls them up in there. So they're tight. Yeah, you can run across the stream right up over your knees and not get
I mean,
wet.
if I was serious, I'd you put hip waders and get your. I'll get a full pack then.
The long
I'd be
day
the giant woods bucks with a
the giant
big
woods bucks.
with a big pack. I guess you couldn't get those in the fanny pack.
All right. We'll go now. Thanks for listening. Make sure you support the sponsors, and go from there. We'll see you the next time.
Hi, everyone. This is Big Woods Bucks team member Mark Sheeran. A lot of you know that I've been working with addicts and alcoholics now for the last 32 years. And one of the things that we just developed, which is very exciting, is the Freedom Model online program. And this program makes it so that you can learn the entire Freedom Model curriculum, all 470 pages of it, through pre-recorded video tutorials that myself and Michelle Dunbar, the other co-author of the Freedom Model, built for you. So you'll be able to learn the entire curriculum, how to get over an addiction without AA meetings, without rehab, without endless therapies, without recovery, and you can move on from this problem for good. If you want more information about this, go to online.thefreedommodel.org. That's online.thefreedommodel.org, or call 888-424-2626. And if you want that program for 50% off, use code BWB22. That's BWB22. So go to that address, hit the Enroll Now button, use that coupon code, and you'll have a program for the rest of your life. You can use it anytime you want. You'll get all updates. It's a one-time fee, and it's very affordable. And you'll get it for 50% off. BWB22. All right, everybody. Take care.
Hey guys, Joe here. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Lake Parlin Lodge. We're a 4-season lodge located just south of Jackman. We've got cabins, lodge rooms, mini lodge. We're a big snowmobile destination in the winter, full restaurant, bar, all the amenities that you need for your trip. Open obviously through the summer, right on the lake. Kayaks, canoes, all included with the cabin. We also do a lot of weddings, so if you're looking for a destination wedding, we can do a wedding up to 200 people. And of course, we've got our hunting season, moose season, deer season. So check us out. We're at lakeparlinlodge.com.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, good luck on the trail.